And I'm back. Mark, we can't hear you. Mark, yeah, back. Sorry. Technical issues happening. Technical issues. Yes, Joe McAvoy. Technical issues. Mark, you're not streaming. I know. I'm aware of that. But we're back now. Billy, you can hear me. How are you?
I can hear it. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's actually fixed.
Yeah, it's brilliant. You're in.
Right, amazing. Okay.
Technical genius.
Let's just start again. Let's see if we can actually just start with a round of applause and just pretend none of that ever happened. Let's just go.
Love it.
You call that radio?
Fucking radio. Here to tell people that we hear you. One God will not allow.
You call that radio.
However you want to say it.
You call that radio?
You call that radio.
However you want to say it, that's kind of part of the fun.
Powered by our patrons.
Brothers and sisters.
Apologies for the technical issues there. See, Billy, I was just assuming it was you because you're like in Norway.
Yeah.
But that was wrong of me to assume that Norway had shite internet when it was actually just a case of me having to switch it off and back on again, and then it seemed to work again.
No,
so Norway,
it's not too bad.
It's good, mate. No, you're fine. I was just assuming it was you, but it's actually it was my end. Sorry about that. And you're in Norway though. You're in Norway.
I am in Norway. Yeah, with working Wi-Fi. We're all good.
Brilliant stuff, man. Really appreciate you doing the show, man. I watched the Great Hip Hop Hoax years ago. When did that come out?
Good few years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. 2017 or before that, maybe. I'm not too sure.
Well, I mean, just could you just give people who maybe aren't aware of the story? What's the Great Hip Hop Hoax all about?
So basically, we were two Scottish rappers trying to make it, doing a load of shows in the across the UK, doing quite well, and we got to the point where we thought, you know what, we could make a go of this actually. So we're basically doing what every young aspiring musician that wants in a band wants to do. They want to get signed, they want to go on tour and all this kind of stuff. So we tried to do that, and it basically didn't work out. We weren't accepted as being Scottish rappers in London at the time, and we came back up the road, and we reassessed our situation. We decided to, well, there's a reason why we did it, but I'll get to that later on. But we basically reinvented ourselves as these two American characters, and we went back down. We re-recorded all our music. We went back down to London. We got offered a show down in London. We played in London as these two American rappers, and literally the minute we walked off stage, that was it. Everything was changed. We were asked to come to a record label the next day. We did, and we ended up signing a record deal with Sony and living the rock star life for 3 years down in London as these American characters. And we couldn't get out of it because we kind of felt like once we were in there, we were in too deep. We couldn't go back to tell the truth. So we kind of just ended up having to stay as these characters for 3 years. And nobody knew. So record labels didn't know, management didn't know, fans didn't know. Everyone thought we were these two Californian rappers, and like you say, we were just two characters ourselves, just pulling a fast one from Scotland. Well, I'm from Arbroath, and met Gavin Dundee, so that was two Dundee rappers at the time. And that's the basics of the story.
That's the basic one. I'm sure there's a lot more twists and turns than that.
Oh
obviously.
Yeah, I tried to break it.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. So people know what we're actually talking about. And I mean, to me, it sounds like, I mean, there's so many great things about it. Is the fact that, you know, obviously you had the talent, otherwise you wouldn't have get signed. But it's just the way that sort of people look down upon the Scottish accent and hip hop. I think it's getting a bit better these days.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
There's people sort of making it through, but I suppose when you're doing that, there must have been some of it must have just been hilarious and good fun. Like you're just actually at the blag, total blag. It's 10 out of 10 blag points. So you're having all these fun times. Also, it must also, you know what you're saying. You've got fans don't even know, and you know you're having conversations with people, and so that, eventually it must have just been a bit of a nightmare as well.
It was, it was certainly a roller coaster, that's for sure. I mean, it was the most insane and craziest times ever. I mean, we were just full on embraced into this industry as these Californian rappers. So getting up to all sorts and just being everywhere at parties and gigs and backstage events and just basically everywhere, invited everywhere as these guys, as these characters. But yeah, at the same time, it was obviously quite intense because, I mean, there would be times where we could only speak to each other in our own accents, and then the minute someone else came into the fold, we had to just quickly switch. Hey, what's up, man? And it was madness. But you know what? It was an amazing time, absolutely amazing. Something to look back on and be like, wow, we can't believe we got away with that. We did it.
Did you ever? Was there anyone ever close to rumbling? Did anyone ever? I mean, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that Daniel Bedingfield kind of rumbled you.
That was one. Well, that was me. I was at the Brit Awards. 1 year, I think it was the 25th anniversary of something of the Brit Awards, and so I was there, and I was just partying backstage. I mean, I was just there kind of as a guest. I actually blagged my way into that. On top of the blag, I blagged my way into that. But so I'm drinking with Green Day and hanging out with Green Day backstage, and just a load of different people, and speaking to this guy, speaking to that guy, and then I got speaking to someone, and they'd said, no, I was speaking to Daniel Bedingfield, and then he'd said, oh, have you met? So I'll tell you, that's absolutely right. I was speaking to Natasha Bedingfield, and she said, "This is my brother," and he said, "Oh yeah, we spoke earlier on," and he said, and we got speaking. Said, "Oh, they're from California, they're over here," and he said, "Oh, I thought you were from Canada," and I was just like, "Oh shit! Why did he say that? Do you mean why did he?" Or he thought I was Scottish or something like that. I thought I was Scottish, and I made out like, "Oh, I'm actually a lot of people think I'm from Canada because my accent's quite strange." And it was just that was the closest time. Actually, he'd said Scottish. Actually, he'd said, "I thought you were Scottish," and I was thinking, have I just told him that like half an hour before? Did I tell him I was Scottish? Did I speak Scottish and he didn't, and he picked up on it, or so?
Yeah, well, I suppose when you're drinking, it's one thing to put an American accent when you've got your wits about you, but if you start drinking and enjoying yourself, then even in a completely different thing. When I was living abroad, I had to slow down my accent so people would understand me. But when you throw a few drinks into the mix, then you just start, or you start talking to an Irish person or something, then you just start speeding up again.
Well, do you know what? That's a question that we always get asked. Well, we used to always get asked was like, when you were drinking, how did you not forget and just slip back into your own accent? And I think because we tried so hard to develop these characters and the backstory of these characters. I mean, this wasn't just us putting on an American accent. We fully were into these characters. That we, it's like the more drunk we got, the more intense the characters became. So we became these even more asshole American guys. You mean that were just over the top, like almost the character of the character. So we just got deeper and deeper. So we didn't really, I don't know, I think it worked in our benefit that way. But there was obviously that. I mean, that time, for instance, I didn't know. Do you mean? So I didn't know if I'd said something in Scottish. I was like, oh shit. Usually we were quite good, but this was a bit of a. I got out of it. It was fine. Like he was just like, oh yeah, because I think he was from New Zealand or something. Is he from New Zealand? And I think he was. And he said, oh, he gets it all the time. Everyone confuses him, and I just kind of changed the subject and moved on. But yeah, that was one that was we talk about in the documentary.
So you're talking about your backstage with Green Day, who are obviously Americans. So I mean, was there extra pressure when you're talking to actual Americans?
Do you know what? We were that confident, right? And that, do you know what? I'll even say arrogant in a way that we had no fear whatsoever. So we were speaking. I mean, Trey Cool, the drummer from Green Day, was inviting me. But when we go back to California, he was inviting me over to his house for barbecues, and I'll take to these skate places and these skate spots and everything. Because, and it was just like that. So I was thinking to myself, how could he possibly not? I mean, I think they're from Southern California, and that's where the kind of place we said we were from. So how is he not clicked up on that at all? But I mean, I guess it's not something you think about. Do you know what I mean? If like you speaking in your accent to me right now, if you were Irish and putting this accent on, I wouldn't question it. Do you mean I wouldn't think? I wonder if he's really from. I wonder if he's really from Glasgow. Do you know what I mean? It's not something you think on a day-to-day basis. So I guess
I
we
suppose
kinda got away with it
people
'cause of
have
that.
people do avoid accents all the time, maybe because they've maybe picked up a bit of accent from their flatmates, or they've maybe moved
Yeah.
around or whatever. And so, I suppose you're not questioning every accent you're going. They're
Yeah.
it's a big jump to go. They're pretending it. They're making it all up. So I
Yeah,
suppose people
there's
just
a
give them the
bit.
benefit of the doubt.
That's it, exactly.
But
Yeah,
they
it's a bit
shouldn't have.
full on to just.
They shouldn't have.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't have at all. I mean, I get it all the time, even today, accent wise, because I mean, because I work all over the place. I work with different nationalities. I mean, people from everywhere, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, where are you from?" And if I say I'm from Scotland, they don't believe me. They're like, "No, you don't sound Scottish." But they're used to hearing people from Aberdeen or people from Glasgow or something. Maybe people have got a really strong dialect, and I've just never had that strong dialect. You know what I mean? I wasn't kind of brought up like that. I mean, obviously I'm from Arbroath. We grew up in Arbroath, but I just don't really have that strong. I mean, it's not like, like the Glaswegian accent. You can hear it straight away. It's Glaswegian. Oh, he's from Aberdeen. He's from the north, kind of thing. And I think that stands out a lot more. So people just assume that I work with, the only people they've met are people from there. So they just assume that everyone in Scotland sounds the same.
So says,
Which is also not the case.
With the rush you must get when you're about to, I mean, the one that you see in the trailer, it's the MTV. What I'd actually quite like to see is the full footage of that. Does that exist anywhere? Because I think they only use a bit of it in the film.
Do you know what? We were on MTV quite a few times around that time. That was the TRL one that they use in the trailer with Dave Berry. And yeah, that was looking back. See that? I can't remember that. I actually cannot remember him asking that question or it being said like that. And the way it shows it in the documentary, actually, it looks like a lot more like he's caught on. He knows exactly what's going on here. But I don't remember it being like that at all. So
I mean, to me, it looks like
thing,
clever edit. It does look like a bit of clever editing though, as well, because it's like a kind of slow mo, and I think the music changes, and then you're kind of like, so obviously that's not necessarily what happened. But it makes you want to watch the film.
Well,
It makes you want to watch the film.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a cliffhanger. I mean, who knows whether he was suspicious about it or not at all. That was actually, I've actually got a mad story about that. See, that was the first time we were on MTV, and we had guys that kind of lived with us. We'd brought in other guys to be part of a band. We started making it into a live thing. So, like one of my best friends from back home, he was there as a drummer, Colin, from Hardgrind. So he was there as our drummer, and he was in another band at the time back home in Perth, and they had come down to visit. So they turned up to stay with us the day before we were going on MTV. So obviously we hadn't seen them for a while. They knew we were Scottish, obviously. So we're all in the house and we're drinking, and we're up all drinking all night, drinking, having a laugh, and then the doorbell goes. So we look out the window. What the fuck is that? And it was a driver, the driver taxi kind of thing. The company had ordered to take us to MTV. We had to be there like 6 a.m. We'd been up all night, and I didn't actually realise. So it was a quick, throw on a different t-shirt, put on a hat, let's get out of here. I went on that MTV show, and I was still drunk from the night before, and I honestly cannot remember a lot of the stuff that happened. That if you look back to the actual footage of it, a lot of it at the time, I was actually drunk on MTV the very first time that we done it, and it was kind of like a huge opportunity for us because we're thinking, right, we're going to be on MTV. This is it. We've made it. Do you know what I mean? It's going to blow up from here. But we just were that. I don't know, that fearless. We just didn't. It didn't make it a big thing for us. You know, it was just another day.
And I mean, MTV was huge at that time as well. So
yeah.
There was no nerves for that one because you were half cut. So it's just a fun day out going on live.
You know, that's what it was. It was just like, oh, let's go have a laugh, jump in the car, let's go, guys. We're off to MTV. It's just but I mean, genuinely, that's how we lived, like day to day. Anyway, we didn't have that fear, and there wasn't really nerves all the time. I mean, of course, there was nerves when it started getting a bit more serious and a bit more like, we need to think about this, we need to think about that. But a lot of the time, I mean, that's why we got to where we were, because we were these characters, you know, and we didn't have any kind of fears of getting caught. We just figured we were untouchable. We were going to be fine. So we just kind of took it as far as we could, obviously, which was pretty far.
Very far, very, 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 very far. At one point, you're supporting D12, and we understand that part of your blag was that you were friends with Eminem and stuff like that. So I mean, that must have been tense. That experience when you're actually meeting Eminem and D12, and yeah, what was that all about?
Right. Do you know what? See, like Gav, if you speak to Gav, he'll tell you as well. He was literally the worst person to be around on a night out, because we had this blag already, right? We're two guys from California, and that's it. We'd come over to the UK. We'd basically we were traveling around, and we'd stopped off in the UK, did a couple of shows, and this has got us where we were, and that was it. That to me, that's kind of the blag, right? That's all. We don't need any more. But Gav would just add arms and legs onto every single story, and then it would just grow and grow, and it was hysterical to us. We just thought it was hilarious. But that was one of the blags that he told. Oh yeah, we were around all the battle scenes in California. And, yeah, we knew like Eminem, and we kind of hung out with D12 loads. So I mean, it was just another one of the adaptations of the story, really. So it was just again to us a bit of a laugh, until one day our manager had phoned us and said, "I've got some great news." We're like, "Oh, what's up?" He says, "Oh, I've got you a huge support slot. It's going to..." We're like, "Oh, perfect." It was Brixton Academy, Birmingham Academy. It was just kind of UK tour, and we said, "Oh, who are we supporting?" And he said, "Oh, D12. Your buddy's D12." And we were just like, "Oh, fuck." I mean, I think to be honest, for the first split second, we were like, "Yeah, oh, this is awesome." And then the realization kind of hit us, like, "Oh shit, did you not tell them we were like friends? We were friends with those guys." So we just had to kind of go on that. And so when we actually met them at the sound check, I mean, it was all or nothing. We could have just like went, "Oh no," like, okay, we don't know these guys, and told them the truth. Or we could have just went full on up to them like, "Hey, what's up, man?" and just kind of give them high fives and stuff. And that's the route we went with. And they were also looking at us thinking, "Oh, who the fuck are these guys?" But they weren't going to be rude enough to say, "Who the fuck are you guys? We don't know you guys." Sorry, I don't know. Yeah, well, sure.
Yeah, you can swear. No, you're fine.
You can swear. I've seen your shows. No, but that was what I was doing. It was they could have turned round, but I think there was been an awkward situation if they had done. So they just kind of went with it and greeted us like we did know them. So from someone standing on the side looking in, like as in our manager, it was like, "Oh yeah, there's their pals. That's cool. They've met back up with them." But it was fine. We kind of became drinking buddies with them after a show or two. But that moment was a bit of one of those intense moments where it could have went either way. That could have been it. It could have been blown, you know. But that was through Gav's like his game of just wanting to take it a little bit further of the story, and it was just
it's probably why you got the support slot, I suppose, as well, because they just went, "Well, this is great. D12 are in town.
They know them.
They know them, so they'll be happy with it." And obviously, at that time, Eminem and D12 would have been huge. I think I was around about the time of the first or the second album with D12.
Yeah. So I think it was the first. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like a huge tour at the time, and you know, you're getting to play all these sold out arenas.
Yeah. We played some shows, some tour, some festival type stuff, like extreme sports festivals and stuff, to like big crowds. Like I think one of the ones in the trailer at the start were like, "Hey, we're from California." That's the NAS festival, I think it was, which was a huge festival for like motocross, skating, all this kind of stuff. But obviously, when we went to do the Brixton Academy stuff, that was kind of the biggest official shows that we'd been involved in, you know. So it was an amazing experience for us.
And as how did the crowd take to you?
Yeah, really good. Do you know what? We got lucky. I think there was another act playing before us, and the crowd didn't take to them at all. And I remember feeling really bad. Like, "Oh, fucking hell." I mean, this is... that's it. We're going to be the same. But we had a live band at the time as well, so obviously we played with a live band. So, and I think just because we were kind of pretty much full on, jumping around stage, we had the crowd, and they really liked it, actually. I think that's what made, I think, D12 take to us a little bit when we did start speaking to them backstage, was the fact that they could see that, well, we knew how to get the crowd going, you know, and
that's what you're wanting in a support act. You want
exactly,
the crowd to be hyped up, ready for it.
Getting them hyped. That's what we were there for. I mean, and that's kind of what we did.
So I'm just a couple of comments coming in. Drinking buddies with D12, fucking awesome. With D12, well, obviously you started having a few drinks with them and stuff. So I take it that you just sort of skirted around the whole issue of no one ever asked, "Have we met before?" and you didn't before. And
no, 100%.
Did you stay away from any kind of American chat? Like, you didn't talk about venues or anything?
No. Do you know what? We kind of, and I know it sounds a bit silly, but I think we kind of tried to avoid them as much as we could, just in case anything like that did come up, or someone did say, "Oh, so where did you guys meet originally?" So, but yeah, I mean, once everyone's kind of was drinking backstage, you would just mingle around. So we just kind of walk around from one place to the next and kind of lay low as you could. But yeah, no, it was we got. I mean, it was one of those things we got away with. Again, I don't think once that we had embraced, or they'd embraced us from us kind of approaching them, I think again it wasn't thought of. Oh, I wonder if that's really happened. It just seemed like legit after that, So.
Who was the soundest member of D12?
I think I'd say Proof at the time. Proof, obviously he's not with us anymore, but yeah, he was totally sound. I mean, I think we were kind of fans of his anyway, so we almost wanted him to be cool. So I remember just speaking to him, and he just seemed quite laid back. There was a funny thing actually that a bit of a story that's not been told is when D12 were on stage, we used to be at the side of the stage, kind of back of the stage, side of the stage, just watching them. And there's one point, it's quite funny actually. Bizarre, right?
Yeah,
the big guy, right? So there's a bit
shower cap in his head.
Yeah, that's the boy. Yeah, the shower cap. But he goes off the stage, and they're halfway through the song, and they're finishing their song. And I hope he doesn't kill me for saying this actually. But anyway, so he comes off the stage, right, and they're finishing their song, and then they give it this whole to the crowd. I mean, it's obviously set up. They give it the crowd. Yeah, where's Bizarre at? Where's Bizarre? Yo, you guys seen Bizarre? And the crowd's, oh no, where's Bizarre at? And then he gets the mic, and he says, I'm just back here popping some pills and smoking some weed. And obviously the crowd go mad, like, oh yeah, he's fucking awesome. But what he was really doing was taking his oxygen mask off so he could hold the mic, and putting his oxygen mask back on because he couldn't handle doing a full show without getting oxygen because he was so out of shape.
I think he's actually recently been changed that. I think he's got a tune out about losing weight, because I think he kind of fell into the category of being unfit and unhealthy was part of his shtick. Mm-hmm. So
that was it. Yeah, that's what I mean. They kind of tried to play on that, like he was this big character and out of shape character. But I just remember I'll never forget that look he just gave us, because when he was saying it on the mic, he was just looking at us in the eye as if to say, don't ever tell anyone this story. And here I am.
Sorry, Busy. That's an exclusive.
My bad. But I tell you what, he was a cool guy though. Very cool guy. But
yeah. Amazing. We've got Nunny boys in the house. How you doing, Nunny? Petra says this is hilarious. Aye boys says lumpfish. Dean Wallace says class. Disco Collins says best blag ever. Colette says, how's you, Billy? Love baby doll. Doogie Law's in the house. How you doing, man? From Doogie. Yeah. Also, man, I think what we would like to do is just maybe play one of your tunes just now, just for people who are maybe haven't heard it. Have you got any tunes from sort of the earlier days that you're still quite proud of?
There's a lot. I mean, I don't know. There's probably not videos, but there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. I know Gav's put a load of stuff up on YouTube of the earlier stuff because it's up on Spotify as well. But you know what? It's people hear it and they'll be like, oh Christ, what's that? What's with those accents? But I mean, that was it. That was the music that we genuinely made at the time. So any of the early Silibil.
So is that like Medicine?
Yeah. So Medicine. Yeah, Medicine was a good hip hop track. We actually made that with I think there were Danish producers, actually, a couple of Danish producers, and they got us this beat, and we were just like, oh my god, this beat's it. I mean, you'll hear it. It's just like one of those beats where you just like, for us, we was like, right, we need to be on that beat. So we made it happen, and that was one of our big tunes when we were living in London.
Well, let's go for that. Let's just check that out just now, and then let us know in the comments what you make of it. This is Medicine from the early days.
Going out to all the rejects. Grab your helmets, yo. If you see us in the club, you better holler, hey yo. And if you see us getting drunk, you better holler, hey yo. If you see us in the fight, you better holler, hey yo. And if you see us getting white, hey yo, you under attack by 2 men at the max. I take laxatives and have my ass crack waxed. I'm like Queen Man, I'm a little jackass. Been at so many girls, they nickname me Tampax. Fat and mad, so I can't add a minus, but still I get around. The taxi drivers, you think your life's bad? Imagine I'm minus. It's like going down on a girl with vaginal dryness. Hey yo, if you didn't know, I'm a liar. In stores I don't buy, I steal like Winona Ryder. Irrational, walk around butt naked. Look at Brandy, so unfashionable. rolling the Philly hotter than chilies. You know the deal, they leave you minding my words like Milli Vanilli. Volume up and nod your head to this. Inject these lethal flows. Our realness is your medicine. Pump it up till the speaker blows. If you see us in the club, you better holler, hey yo. And if you see us getting drunk, you better holler, hey yo. If you see us in the fight, you better holler, hey yo. And if you see us with your wife, yo, this is your warning. You best go look for cover or get left stuck for words like a mute with a stutter. They tell me, like, keep it real. Damn it, I know this, but I want cash to blow quick like Anna Nicole Smith. I know it may seem I'm rap James Dean, cause the dame scream as soon as I'm seen like rape fiends. Always mean, out of this world like space beans. Make machine guns out of mics and blast you like the A-team. When people see me, they go screaming and running. So I put a condom in your ear so you can't hear me coming. We always up to something typical low life. Crashing your pad and jack you with your own knife. A reputation got you fretting and shaking because we deadlier than stepping up to Freddie and Jason. You best be ready and waiting, but trust me, no one's equal. Rejects ain't holding back like broken seatbelt. Volume up and nod your head to this. Inject these lethal flows. Our realness is your medicine. Pump it up till the speaker blows. If you see us in the club, you better holler, hey yo. And if you see us getting drunk, you better holler, hey yo. If you see us in the fight, you better holler, hey yo. And if you see us with your wife, hey yo, I let fly, shaving my face with a penknife, porno mag and a six-pack, that's my sex life. Even deaf guys say I'm very tight, and Stevie Wonder said I'm one hell of a sight. We bringin' terror like the Rockies on American flights, and we always on girls' asses like the cellulite. So me and brains hang around like a suicide, getting your soul crossed. You think you'll be inclusive? Yo, extra, extra, read all about it. Hide all your daughters, lock all your houses. Two foul kids here to knock you out quick, so throw your hands up like you're being surrounded. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now bring the hook back. Volume up and nod your head to this. Inject these lethal flows. Our realness is your medicine. Pump it up till the speaker blows. If you see us in the club, you better holler, hey yo. And if you see us getting drunk, you better holler, hey yo. If you see us in the fight, you better holler, hey yo. And if you see us with your wife, yeah. Rejects. Oscar Bravo. Frankie Little Fingers. Tommy Fonzarelli. Sketch Junior. Yeah. Brainiac. Silly the Kid, boy.
I got you. Ready?
Yeah, he's good.
1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yo, this is Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5 live and direct here in Glasgow, Scotland, and you call that radio?
Upon you, we are here to tell the people that we hear you. One God will not allow us as people of conscience to lose our morale. We see the crimes of this government, how they support every dictator and criminal on this earth. Sometimes you can feel down. Sometimes you're
Brilliant stuff. It's Medicine, Silibil and Brains from way back. What year are we talking about here?
2003 maybe 2003 probably. I will say.
Right. So how long are you writing in an American accent for? So the demo from the first demos going out to being signed and starting to do it. How long have you got to write an American accent? Because that must have been both weird, scary, hard, and also exhilarating because there's going to be new words that rhymed that would never have rhymed before.
Yeah, but there was all. Do you know what? Actually, it's a lot easier to make words rhyme because you notice if you hear a lot of American things, hip hop, we would never get away with doing that. But at the same time, there were certain words that it's just very difficult to say. It was not very difficult, but it's a bit of a crossover to say it in an American accent because it still sounds Scottish, which is why a lot of people think you're Canadian because you're down, pound, all those kind of things. All those words, it's quite difficult actually to get used to saying it and making it sound American. A lot of time it just sounds like a Canadian, like, let's go down, hey. but it still sounds quite Scottish, so that was hard.
Well, obviously, you're doing that. Both you and Gavin have got the same thing, so you can obviously run things by each other. So I'd imagine that would have been helpful because at least you've got two brains at the same time working on it.
Yeah, oh yeah, like absolutely. I mean, we used to just, Gav had a flat in Dundee, and I remember we spent, and this is the thing, this is what frustrates me when people are just going about, oh, it's just fake, they're just fake, oh, they're just, and I'm like, see if any of these people that say we're fake put in half as many hours as we did at that time, because we were just locked in his flat, and we would just sit in and we would just write, and we would write, and we would write, and we would just non-stop write for days. And to kind of perfect that, and I'm just always trying to better the last rhyme and to better the last thing, but bouncing off each other was obviously great because it just gave us that, oh no, that sounds a bit wrong, or that's, so maybe need to change that word, or so it was good always writing as a duo, that absolutely helped us. Yeah,
we're just going back to that, the fake thing. So obviously, because there's obviously some people in the hip hop community don't like you guys.
A lot of people.
A lot of people. There's a few for sure.
Yeah.
And I've never really understood that, because to me it's just like, it's an amazing story. I love the blag, and I love the fact that, because at the end of the day, to have to write in a whole new accent, like you said, that's a lot of hours that you have to put into suddenly just change you're changing your voice as well. So obviously the hip hop thing it's about keeping it real and being true to yourself. Although how many rappers exaggerate everything? I think every rapper exaggerates every single one. If you didn't exaggerate, then it wouldn't be as interesting. So
exactly, it wouldn't. But that's the. Yeah, but we're always hit with that thing of, oh yeah, keep it real. You need to keep it real, and you need to kind of be yourself. But to me, it's like, you've just nailed it right there. How many rappers? Every one of these rap videos growing up, we used to watch growing up. All these cars are rented. The girls are rented. The alcohol's probably water in the bottles. Everything's all rented. It's all fake. Everything's all fake about it. The gold chains and everything. But to me, it's like, if you want to be a musician, you need to have. And you want to be a successful musician, you need to kind of have this outlook that, do you know what, I want to be better than what I am, and I want to kind of step out the box and maybe step out your own safety as well, and just break those boundaries and those barriers down, and just kind of just push yourself to get there. Do you know what I mean? It's like a lot of these guys, like I hear, like, okay, yeah, 100% keeping it real, but 100% will always be keeping it real and doing that thing. And the problem is, when I watched your show with Spee and Taj, you guys nailed it. So many points. I was like, oh, this is what kind of got me into it. I thought, this is great. It's kind of open-minded, and I liked the way that you guys were discussing it. And it was like, they were talking about how, like, what happens in the hip hop scene in Scotland is that the guys think about what their friends are going to think about, right? So they write for their friends. So then they put on a show, and the same group of friends come, and then that guy, he's a rapper as well now, because he wants to rap. So he'll put on a show, and his same group of friends will come. So there's always this very small minority of guys that they're kind of writing music to please each other, instead of thinking out the box, thinking, well, what if we please other people? And that doesn't mean, go and be fake and put on an American accent, but it's just about your everything, how you present yourself. All these things I think are major points that, if people did it more, Scottish hip hop would be pushed a lot further. Because I think the guys that have done it, and again, this is nothing to do with accents. This is just about character and attitudes towards the music, I think, and being professional. The guys that have kind of stepped out and made a bit of a name for themselves and the culture as it is, then they're the ones that don't get tied up in these scenes, don't get tied up in what that rapper's saying or what that rapper's saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama in certain levels of the hip hop scene, and people that are doing well tend to just not get involved in it because it's just a waste of time and energy.
Yeah, and I love seeing that. I love seeing those guys that do that.
And don't worry, I sometimes like a wee bit to crack open the popcorn and read some of the threads that descend into chaos. But at the end of the day, there's absolutely no point in wasting your time and energy. In general, I've been trying to avoid just arguing on Facebook, full stop. Although I have got involved in a couple of conversations I wish I didn't have since lockdown, because it seems to be more heightened. There's people that don't normally have enough time to spend on
the internet. I was going to say, you've more time to think about it and to get involved. That's I'm exactly the same.
And research, inverted commas, research as well. People are researching a lot of utter shite. And yeah, I think as well, but it's a good point about people making songs for your friends and your friends come. And it's also, I think that there's almost no one wants to support people that aren't in their own clique because they want to be the best, so they want them to be the best. So as a result, you do get some gigs that have just low attendances because people aren't out supporting the other people. It's almost like they don't want. It's almost like there's only one shot out there, and if someone gets too good, then that's going to go against him, which is absolute nonsense, man. I mean, I think maybe there was maybe an argument back in the day, maybe the 90s, early 2000s, when record deals were a thing. So maybe a record label was going to sign one Scottish rapper, but nowadays nobody's signing any Scottish rappers. So just go and just make just promote each other. Let's give everyone a wee push. If someone makes a good tune, regardless if you like them or not, give it a share. Go out to the gig and support it, because to people on the outside, and if they've just seen, there's been bands that have done it, and people, it reached a scene further afield than just hip hop. They see people enjoying themselves in a busy crowd, and they want to be part of that crowd. But nobody's going to see 10 people. No one's going to see 10 people nodding along to a beat and give it any respect unless they're already into it.
Yeah, you know what? I was at when the documentary came out, the world premiere for it was at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and we went to the premiere of this. So we were
was
there
that the first time you went to America?
No, see, this is it's been said that that's the case, but that's the first time Gav went to America actually. So it was quite funny because obviously we made the documentary with Jeannie Finlay, who was the director of it. And I think she did a brilliant job with that and bringing it all together as well, not just like the actual film itself, but because Gav and I weren't speaking at the time. So when we got to Austin, we ended up doing all of these interviews and stuff. And it was funny thing, Jeannie brought up at one point. She goes, "I've just realised this is the first time that myself, as in Jeannie, Gavin and Billy have ever sat in the same room together." So we've made this entire film, which took, I don't know, a year and a half, whatever it was, to film everything and bring it all together. But that was the first time we'd ever come. It's the first time we'd ever all been together, and that was the first time that Gav had been to America. See, I've got family in California, and so I'd went a few times when I was younger, and that's where we got the influence from, or the references from, for where we said we were from, because we said we were from like Hemet, San Jacinto, California, and that's where like my family were from, or my family lived anyway. So I'd been there a few times, so we were able to draw parts from that story, like, oh yeah, they were there, and then it's this far from LA, so we kind of knew roughly parts of the story. But that was the first time Gav had been, But back to I'll tell you why I was telling you that. So I mean, South by Southwest, okay, it's a huge film and arts music festival and everything anyway. But so we went out to a few shows and seen things, and I remember there was this one daytime show. We'd met this rapper guy, and he said, "Oh, my brother's playing a show at this." His brother was becoming this big rapper from Houston or something, and so we went to watch him. And we went to this venue, right? And it was like an outdoor kind of venue, like indoor bar, but the stage and everything was set up outside. And the guy was on stage and he was rapping, and there was obviously the hip hop guys there, and then there was like these old hipster guys, and there was like guys looked like they'd just come out of the office, and there was girls that looked like they'd just come from another band, and there was like punks there, and everyone was there, right? And there was a nice crowd of it was a chilled out event. It wasn't like the Barrowlands or something where everyone's crowded up. It was just like a chilled out outdoor event, and every single person looked like they were enjoying it, and every single person applauded, and every single person cheered and got involved in the shouts and stuff, and that made me realise that we do not have that in maybe the UK, but we don't have that in Scotland, because of what you just said. Like guys don't support each other because they're scared that, oh no, he's kind of against my pal, so I need to support this guy, but we'll not go to their gigs, but hopefully people will come to our gigs. And that was just a group of absolute randoms, complete randoms, and everyone was just getting into it, and everyone was supporting the artist on stage, and then the next guy came on and everyone supported him. And it's a great thing to see, and I just think we really, really need that in Scotland to kind of make the culture, the music scenes grow, not just within hip-hop, but in everything. But you nailed it when you said it's like everyone should support it anyway. Do you mean go to the events, or you talked about it before, get the CDs, or do you mean download the links that they send you and stuff, because it's a good way to get everyone to get everyone coming together and everyone pushing in the one direction, which is to kind of make the scene better and the scene be recognised on a bigger scale than once every so often.
And it's even if people don't need to go to they don't even need to buy the stuff or even go to the shows, but just hitting the share button on something you like.
Yeah.
It blows my mind how many people will really like a song but not share it when it's out. And sometimes you can get lucky. Sometimes I have seen things just getting shared really well. I don't know if that's just been at the right time of the day, a bit of luck or what it was, but when people people don't realise how much power they've got, because the best way to learn, there's so much music now, it's saturated. The way that I discover new music now is based on my friends sharing something. Because if I usually agree with them on their taste in music, then I'm going to watch it probably before then. You know, you get, you know, even as a small way of promoting, it's so much music into me at my email every day, and it's hard to go through it all. In fact, you can't get through it all. But when you actually see someone else that you respect sharing it, so if everyone likes something, just hit the share button.
That's it. Do you mean it's so simple? It's so simple to do. Even hitting the like button is so simple to do. But I think when you hit the like button, it's going to come up. It just kind of brings stuff to the top of the page if you put a comment on something. So it's something as simple as that. Hit the share button. You don't even have to post anything. You don't have to type in. Just hit the share button and you're on.
A fire emoji increases the engagement. So just hit the fire emoji and hit return, and then you've just done your good deed for the day.
That's it.
Get it done. We've got a question coming in from Petra, who says, has anyone offered you a book deal or film deal?
Gav wrote a book before the documentary, so he'd written a book already. He was still in London at the time, so there is a book out there that Gav wrote. It's kind of based on the story, I guess. And then with the documentary, there's been talks of film deals on and off actually for the last few years, but there's some things bubbling up in the background. I probably can't talk about them just now, but that has been definitely something that has been approached. Absolutely, it's been something that's.
Who would you want to play you in the film?
Probably Shrek. No,
it's a piece of art. That's another thing. People saying that this is it's fake accents and all that stuff. At the end of the day, the whole story is a piece of art in its own right. Just the story in its own is art, and it would be a great film as well. I think it could be done really well. It could be done really bad as well. But if someone good did it, then it would be an incredible thing to watch.
That's it. Yeah, definitely. And it's I mean, I think it's obviously it would be set a lot. Like a lot younger years for me, and also a lot less pounds as well. So probably have to be some young slimmer guy anyway. That's for sure. But I think it would have to be some young kind of up and coming actors. I think it would almost ruin the story if it had been someone that's already been in a lot of stuff. Because then sometimes don't get me wrong. Obviously, there's actors that are fantastic at doing that. But I think for this story, I think it's. I don't know. I don't think it would work if it had been someone that's already made a big name for themselves, you know. So, and plus, it would be good just to support some up and coming actors, especially if it's like some young Scottish actors. The only issue would be is obviously they'd have to be able to rap. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to be a rapper, but you have to kind of know. It's easy for just some guy to go, I can rap, and they say the words, but to make it more authentic and more realistic, you'd have to maybe sit down with them, you know, and work with them. Work with them on developing that skill.
They're going to need to rap in an American accent as well. So you're wanting a Scottish accent. Because it's your best chance. It's probably going to be better than an American rapper trying to put on a Scottish accent.
Trying to put on a Scottish accent, exactly. There's nothing worse. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
With regards to the books, Gavin's book's based on the story, I guess. So is there stuff in that book that you don't agree with, or you remember differently?
Do you know? I can't remember. I read it years ago when it first came out. So I can't remember. The reason I'm saying is I can't really remember. But it's basically him telling the story of what happened. Which I think they were trying to originally. They were going to base the film on the book as well. But there was a deal in place there that kind of just fell through a little bit. It just took a little bit long to get on. But it's an interesting book. And the fact that was the first thing to come out about the story as well. Made it even more appealing, sort of thing. So I guess there's a lot of stuff that's not told in the stories, a lot of stuff that's not told in the documentary. So there's a lot of parts still that can kind of to still be told in different ways as well. So that's what's good. It kind of keeps it exciting. And every so often we get this, like the Vice thing that just happened. Like we get a little bit of interest. I mean, the amount of people I've seen comments from all over the world on the Vice stuff that was like. just like people say, "Oh, this is an amazing story," and it amazes me that it doesn't amaze me that not that's a big story that everyone should know, but it amazes me that it still picks up appeal. Do you know that people are still like hearing it for the first time and being like, "Oh, that's a great story," because I always thought it was something that. I mean, obviously I lived it, and I always thought it was something that I'll be able to tell the grandkids in years to come. Oh, when I was younger, what I did was I didn't think anything would ever come from this. It was just a cool story that I would have to tell people years down the line. And every time something like us when talking about the book, when the book came out, it just generated this massive new audience for the story, and just seeing people's reaction to that, and then reaction to the documentary, and then anything that comes out. It fascinates me. I just think to me it was never a big deal. It was just something we done. It wasn't. I didn't think it was that good a story to begin with. Do you know what I mean? Until I seen the hype that it created.
The Vice documentaries, it's a really good one for people who you can actually just to plug the Great Hip Hop Hoax, the full documentary. I think it's available on Vimeo. I think it's $3.99 or something like that to watch that. You can watch that tonight after the show's finished. And if you just maybe want a little sort of warm up for that, it's the Vice documentary. I don't know how many views it's had now, but I seen it was going crazy last week when it dropped.
Yeah.
And Vice, obviously, I've got such a big following anyway, and they're quite good at having the right screenshot. They know how to do social media, so that's certainly. Have you any idea how many times it's been watched? Or have you
no, do you know, I've not really been checking out, to be honest. I seen it when it first kind of came out. A lot of people actually, which is quite funny. I was back home in Scotland, and someone from Norway sent me it. I was like, "How did you see that?" And he was like, "Oh, it's just on Vice or something." So I was like, "Oh." I mean, I knew it was there, but I didn't realize. I mean, you kind of forget how simple it is. How global everything is these days, you know. And so people are from all over the world. They're jumping on Vice, and it's shared on this Vice, and it's shared on Vice Australia or Vice. Do you mean different? Doing different kind of setups
repurposing their content. That's what they would call it. Repurposing the content. That'd be the phrase that I'm sure the Vice guy would use. We've got Shelto Mel's asking, I was amazed at all the footage that was in the documentary. Was there someone from the record company following you, or was it a friend documenting it?
Bro, that's a great question. No, basically we did it ourselves. We filmed everything. So the only way this documentary was able to come about was because we filmed everything. I mean, we were like skaters, snowboarders, guys to surf and everything as well. So we kind of came from that background, which is part of the character as well. Like the reason we found it so easy to put on these characters as a bit of a laugh was we used to, I don't know if you remember the Jerky Boys. We used to do those prank phone calls and stuff way before phone jack and all that stuff. So we had the Jerky Boys album, which was just basically an album full of making up characters and doing prank phone calls. So we did all that kind of stuff anyway. So we were kind of living that film everything life, and it just felt right. We weren't filming everything for a purpose of having a documentary down the line. I mean, we were doing one good thing is we used to make all these little sketches, and we'd film all these little sketches. Sony had us do a load of them so we could put them on the website. Now, this is pre-YouTube.
You're definitely ahead of the game at this point.
So we were doing all these like snippet videos, which eventually became on YouTube, and then like whatever Vine, TikToks. I mean, these days we were doing all that. We were doing that like in the early 2000s, and filming everything and editing it all ourselves and giving it to the record label so they could put it up on things. So we had all this footage of everything. And I think Jeannie said it herself. If she didn't have access to that footage, it would have been difficult to to make it real, to make it believable, because the story is that insane that if we just had someone just telling, like talking heads, telling the story, and then a bit. I mean, obviously there's the animation in it as well for the stuff that wasn't captured, like John Bergerman done, which was unbelievable. I absolutely loved it. I love his art, so I was happy he was involved. But his if it had just been all of that, I don't think it would have worked. So it was quite lucky that we had all those tapes, and we had tapes and tapes and tapes of stuff that we captured, you know, everywhere we went.
Shelto Mel also said that she came across the book in a charity shop she worked in. Also, Shelto Mel's got a funny thing. I think it was Shelto Mel that said this other day. It might not have been. Sorry if it wasn't. But she buys Poverty Safari by Loki every time she finds it in a charity shop, buys it in a charity shop and gives it to someone.
I've seen someone say that as well on this way.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Mel. I have a feeling it was Mel, just because you said book and charity shop. I might have got mistakes. Monday, I take a day to load up. So and Petra says, the storyline is like Cinderella. She's masquerading as a princess, hoping not to get rumbled before midnight. Have you had the Cinderella metaphor before?
I haven't, no, but thanks, Petra. That's a new one for me, so I'll be using that in my
Danny Boyle.
social media.
Danny Boyle to direct it, that'd be great.
Well, see, actually, there was Danny Boyle was linked to this originally. Actually, when there was talk of doing the film, originally there was talk of, oh, Danny Boyle will be involved. I don't know if people were just jumping on the train spotting thing, because it was Irvin Welsh was actually tied in to, apparently was writing a script for it as well, but it kind of all fell through. I don't know what happened, but that was always linked in. So it's funny she says that, actually. Yeah.
It's Petra said we'd have thought the book should be a co-write, but I think because obviously you and Gavin went your separate ways, and I mean, is it true that Gavin was he just kept going? He kept the so let's just go back to that let's just go back to the day. So from the record label rumbling you, how did you get rumbled, and then working for there?
Okay, brilliant. That's another good question, because actually we didn't get rumbled. So this is what a lot of the belief is, that we actually got caught, and that was it. We never actually got caught. What happened was it just kind of was. So we were signed to Sony, and we had the album ready. We had the first single ready to go. We had written the storyboard for the first music video, and then Sony were going to merge with BMG. Like, in the UK now it's Sony BMG, and so the merger was coming up. So what happened was everything got put on hold, and they said. So we were told they were getting rid of a lot of big acts as well. They're getting rid of. Okay, we're releasing a label, releasing from the label. And we got told, no, everything's okay. It's going to be fine. We'll be one of the first singles released on the new Sony BMG name. So, this is brilliant, and it'll just take like a month or so to get the paperwork in place, and then we'll be moving forward with the new label. And 1 month turned into 2 months, turned into 3 months, turned into 4, and it just kept going on and on. And we're sitting at home. We're sitting in London in our place. And we just kind of wanted stuff to go. When you kind of feel like, right, they always say strike while the iron's hot. Well, we've done like MTV, we've done like the D12 tour, we've done all these like festivals, we've done like our own tour, we did like our own university tour. And every time something happened, we thought, right, this is it. Let's go now. Let's get the single out. So this delay kind of put a bit of, not pressure. Pressure's not the right word, but just a bit of stress on us, in that it was frustrating, a lot of frustration, and. So we ended up discussing it with the manager. We actually ended up coming off of Sony. And the idea was, it's fine, no big deal. We'll just go to another label and we'll release it through another label. Which was okay. Okay, that's a bit of a back step to me, but okay, that's fine. And then Gav had this idea that he wanted to get rid of them. He didn't like the management. He wanted to get rid of the management now. And he would say to me, look, let's just get rid of the management and we'll just start again. I mean, we've got all the stuff, we've got all the music, we've got everything. We've just come from Sony, so people will be interested already. And to me, it felt like, I've been in London for 3 years now. I don't really want to start again. I'm not really. It's like just coming down to London for the first day. And I was married. I got married during the London time, which is a whole other story. Almost like a secret wedding, because obviously they couldn't know that it was Scotland or anything. But yeah. So I was kind of at the point where I was like, do you know what? I've just had enough. And so I agreed I said to Gav, okay, I'll agree. I tell you what will happen. If nothing happens by this date, I'm leaving. And then the date came, and I was like, right, if nothing happens by this date, I'm leaving. And I just kept putting it off and off, because it was a big, huge decision to just give everything up. And then eventually the date just came, and that's it, I'm leaving. And I just, we packed our stuff up. Like, my wife was living with me at the time, and we packed our stuff up and we moved, and we moved back to Scotland. And that was it. And then me and Gav had a big fallout about it. And then we never spoke. So we never spoke for years. We never spoke. And then what happened was, Gav was still there trying to make it. So he was still down there, and he was still trying to make it, and he was still being American and still going to record and stuff. And I think the management weren't interested, the labels weren't really interested. And then he eventually kind of came clean to friends. So he'd made all these friends, and he came clean to these friends. Listen, I'm not actually American. And he told them all. So he basically told them all the truth. And he was recording something with his new band. He got a new band, and he was recording stuff with his new band. And he was telling the story to the I don't know, one of the sound guys or something in the studio, or the producer in the studio or something. He's telling the story to someone, and the guy said, "That's an amazing story." He said, "You should speak to my sister. She's a writer for The Guardian." So Gav, I mean, I obviously I don't know any of this is happening. I was back home, but so Gav got speaking to this girl, and then the next thing you know, I got a phone call from this girl, and she wanted to speak to me about it, and so she came up and we spoke, and just did an interview, and then she said, "It's going to be in the Saturday. It'll be in the Guardian on Saturday in the magazine section." I said, "Okay, that's fine." So Saturday came, and like there was like a 6 to 8 page spread about these guys that conned the music industry, and this is genius. These guys have blagged their way to a record deal and conned the music and the whole music industry to get revenge, and then from there on, it just like they got a hold of my phone number, and as soon as I hung up the phone would go again, and it was just press after press after press. So Gav wrote his book on the back of that. So he just did it himself, or he'd been writing it at the time anyway, like his memoirs almost, and he just put it all together in his own book. So it wasn't like Gav and I were still speaking and he wrote a book. He'd written the book completely separate to me, which is why, like, obviously it's 100% his thing. So that's what was going on. That was going on the whole time. This was like 7 years later or something, I think.
Yeah, because I think Gavin was. I think the story is obviously you don't know, because when you've got media reporting things, you don't know how much they're just adding a wee bit on as well. But apparently, admitted it during a live show that he was an American, and I've seen that. Yeah. Also, Paul's saying that the 9-minute Vice piece on YouTube has 530k views. 530,000 people have watched it on, and that's just the YouTube. But the Facebook ones was the one I was thinking about, and obviously, like you said,
it's Facebook I see it on, yeah,
and it's repurposed on various other Vice channels as well. So that's crazy. That's crazy.
Decent numbers.
That is decent numbers. Wait, when you come back to when you're promoting the film, you just came back and made another album.
Yeah. So what happened? We had a mutual friend. Do you know the band The View?
Yes,
The
View.
Right. So
and because I'd seen Robin commented the other day.
Yes,
I know very well. Teapot Studios. So Robin, I was at Teapot Studios last year for the recording of the Twistettes last album, and he's a lovely guy, but great guy, Robin, and it's a great venue. So he says that you shot a video when his house got flooded or something like that.
Yeah, well, there's a funny story to the video actually. But the album, we recorded the album there. So what happened was we had Grant Dixon, who was a kind of mutual friend. Well, he was linked with The View, so he was friends with the guys in The View, which is why I said that. That's how he was within the kind of scene, I guess. And he kind of knew me and Gav from art school. So he'd kind of approached us and said, "Listen, the documentaries coming out, all this buzz all over the press. You guys would be so stupid not to get together and at least try and do a couple songs, because it might, who knows what might happen, this all might blow up and then they'll want music involved." And so he kind of, I think, at least thinks you guys should have a sit down and kind of get back together, put a load of shit behind you, and so we kind of both agreed, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. So we did that in Dundee, and do you know what? It felt like there would be no time had passed. It just felt natural to be around each other. Well, for me anyway, it felt natural to be around Gav, I guess. So we decided, okay, we'll try and write a couple of songs. So Gav would give me all these beats that he'd been producing, and I just wrote and all this stuff. And he was like, okay, we can go to the studio. So Grant took us to the Teapot Studios, and the studio set up, and we went out there with Robin. And I think the idea was just see what we can do. I mean, we'd written, I don't know how many songs there were, but it was basically an album's worth of music. And we only planned to write a couple, so we kind of thought, well, we'll just record them, we'll see how they sound. But we're just knocking them out. We're just knocking them out. And before you know it, the whole album was done. And like in a matter of days, the whole album was just done, written, recorded within a matter of days. And then, and that was where we had an album. So we kind of had come back. And again, I mean, it just felt so much like it was just second nature to be in the studio with Gav as well, just kind of bouncing off each other. Okay, you go and do your bit. Okay, you do your bit, and that was it. We just recorded the album, but then we did a video for. I think I was away actually, so I was away, and they were going to shoot a video for one of the songs. So they did the video, and one of our friends actually stepped in. That's why if you look at the video, it's got Gav and it's got me with a mask on, but it's not actually me. It wasn't actually me. I wasn't actually there for the video shoot. So it's me here, but it's not me that's in the video. So that was the video they shot, I think, with Robin. It's kind of meant to be out in the woods, out in the middle of nowhere, so it suited to be there. It was perfect. But that's what he was talking about the other day. Yeah, it was. But we're snowed in when we recorded the album, trying to get out to that place in the snow was insane. Absolutely insane. It's just middle of nowhere, isn't it? But I mean, brilliant. Robin's a great. I mean, he's just got a great ear, doesn't he? He just has a great vision, and he's open-minded about stuff as well. So it was good. It was a good experience to get back and do it after so many years. But
what maybe do just now is maybe play that. So is it Eat Your Brains video? Was that recorded sort of just in the woods next to Teapot or something like that?
I think so. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't part of the video, but yeah, I think it must have been recorded. It must have been shot out there anyway. That kind of area, I think. So it's meant to be middle of nowhere, kind of style. But yeah, that was one that we'd recorded. It's probably not my favourite song off the album, but it was the one that.
It's the one with the video though, isn't it? It's the one with the
video exactly. Yeah, so it was the one they shot the video for. So I was okay.
Let's go for it. Let's so this is Eat Your Brains.
I'm gonna eat get in my belly. Hey, yo, run, 2 pieces game time. Come, that's a be insane now. Run, the hungry for takeout. They're gonna eat your brain out. We're gonna eat your brain out. Eat your brain out. We're gonna eat your brain out. We're gonna eat your brain. Let's get it on. Looking to settle scores, so bad that it only come as Skeletor. Tell jokes at your funeral, dressed as a corpse with them bash fools. If you wanted a 7-4, metaphors got paws, roll legs and more. Punchlines turn bars in the Tekken 4. I metamorph into a rabbit dog, Labrador, jabbing more words that score than a Scrabble board. Atrocity, I drop atrocities across the knees, dropping deep like Sarah Stone with your caution needs. People staring like I got to these. Drop them on a beats to get the disabled row on their feet. So all these paraplegics backflip, I'm leaving rappers on their back. Looking mechanic if they're rappers, please and believe these asses. Don't take your glasses at these theatrics. I'm bad for kids, the guy litter practicing pediatrics. The baddest person, leaving them stitches like a taxidermist. Plastic surgeon with his laughing cast turned on rappers lack purpose. I separate the men from the boys, unlike the Catholic Church does. Get booed, get drunk, get rude, get pumped, get bugged. There's a lot I gotta do before I get booed, get drunk, get rude, get pumped, get bugged. There's a lot I gotta do before I eat your brain out. I'm gonna eat your brain. I'm gonna eat your brain out. I'm gonna eat your brain. Here I go again, just another lyrical onslaught. Satirical bombs brought from syllables, raw thoughts. Be warned not to cross this madman. I chance folk the ghost and chase him home like Batman. A radical, back from my sabbatical. We're lasting for rats. A class act turn your family fanatical. A natural fact, I don't rap for the fame. Just a zombie dragging this game back from the grave. I'm flinky, swirl, hip hop, fresh in the skills. So you broke back, rappers been ahead for the hills. Build up and limitless, leave your heart limbless. And start you running like you're out of the Paralympics. No one can handle me, son of anarchy. So gradually I'll make casualties from rappers with actual see your intentions, dappers I ain't hearing y'all. That's why I throw rocks like Messi with bulimia. Get booed, get drunk, get rude, get pumped, get bugged. There's a lot I gotta do before I get booed, get drunk, get rude, get pumped, get bugged. There's a lot I gotta do before I eat your brain out. I'm gonna eat your brain out. I'm gonna eat your brain out. I'm gonna eat your brain. I'm gonna eat you. Get in my belly. Who once was a kid with the weirdest hobbies? Everyone poked fun, called me a zombie. Now I'm on the hunt, the beast that haunts me. So I'm kicking down doors, screaming, here's Johnny. Run! Here they come! You better run! They're gonna eat your brain out. Eat your brain out. I'm gonna eat your brain out. I'm gonna eat your brain out. I'm gonna eat your brain. Here's Johnny. Eat your brain out. I'm gonna eat your brain. I'm gonna eat your brain out. I'm gonna eat your brain. Brothers and sisters. That's you, Daniel. Are you before me?
Call that radio.
You call that radio.
Yes, this is Dog.
It's You Call That Radio, and it's good. So that's a bit of info there that you weren't even in the video. Did you get? Did they get a stunt double in there?
That's it. Yeah, stunt double. That's it. And I was one of our friends, Ozzy. I think he was there with Gav at the time, and he was like, "Okay, we'll just actually here's an idea. There's a way around it. We'll just get him masked up." So I bet you wish you watched that video first there to screen it before you showed it there.
I've watched the video before. It's a wee bit more bloody than it's a wee bit more bloody than I remember it, but no,
Yeah,
it's all good. It's all good. But aye, man, that album that was released. So as I said, where we at now, 2009 or something like that.
No,
2011.
Maybe 2011, maybe a bit
2011.
bit after.
I'm trying to remember because I remember you played Pivo and I was the booker back then as well, so it must have been.
So that was when the Pivo show. I think that was on the promo stuff around the documentary coming out, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
so
that would. They tied in, didn't it? The album.
I think so. Yeah.
The album and the documentary, and played a couple of live shows just to kind of to do it as well. So what was it like being back on stage? Because obviously you hadn't been on stage for so long.
It's to me, it's natural to be on stage. It's absolutely natural. So I enjoy. That's always been my highlight of everything. It's performing is kind of where I get the enjoyment out of it. But that was, it was a bit different. I think that kind of period made me realise that how different myself and Gav were as well. Because I think, I remember at this time he's still doing music. He's still living in London. He's still kind of chasing to get his stuff out there, and the kind of respect for the music that he deserves, really. Because he's a very, very hard writer, hard worker, always writing, always coming up with stuff. But he was still down there kind of chasing it. So he had all these ideas of this concept. Even with the video and stuff, if you'd said to me, you want to make a music video, that would not be the one. So I think I realised that I'd grown up a lot. And that kind of, I don't know, that I think I'd mellowed quite a bit as well. Obviously I was making music as well, a different side. I was making a different kind of music. So that it just kind of made it feel like it didn't feel so natural being together on stage. I think Gav was still that kind of hype man, would still be looking to jump in the crowd kind of guy sort of thing, and I was just a bit like, do you know what, this is not me anymore. I feel like I've grown up. Do you know what I mean? I've got kids and I'm working away, and it's just kind of, I don't know. It didn't feel. I felt then that this is not something I want to pursue and become like, that's it, let's get back together and kind of do this. I just knew we were too far apart by that point. We were constantly growing apart anyway, but I think we just went in completely different directions in the space and the time that we were separate.
Kind of like the Stone Roses. It happens to many bands, isn't it? Like when you got Stone Roses, did the record deal situation, so they couldn't record. So that as a result, they weren't, so the story goes, they weren't hanging around with each other at that time, and then sort of 4 or 5 years away from each other, then I suppose people do just start going their own ways a little bit.
Yeah. That's it. We talked about a lot of stuff about doing live shows and we've never been guys that would just stand up on stage, give us a mic, put the music on, and let's rap. We'd always look to entertain. Okay, at the end of the day, that's what we're there for, right? We're there to entertain people, and so we were always looking at concepts. We could do this on stage. We used to do loads of stupid stuff when we were in London, blow up dolls on stage. It's the same idea, like with the gyro babies and stuff, that kind of stuff, right? As a front man, you're there to entertain, right? You're there to keep everyone going, and I think, it's like some of the concepts that Gav had, he wanted to do this and I wanted to do that, and this will tie in with Eat Your Brains. And I kind of felt like it's not really, like, at the time, I don't know, Tyler, the Creator, and Odd Future. I don't know if you know those guys. They were out and they were kind of just starting to blow up, and I loved what they were doing because they were very intelligent with it. They all printed all their own merch, their own T-shirts. So they basically developed a brand out of that, and they did pop-up shows. They had pop-up shops at every show and all that stuff. So it was genius what they were doing, but they were just being insane on stage and all this crazy stuff. And I was thinking, well, like, I'm in my 30s at this time. Like, okay, we're 30 now. You know what I mean? It's like these kids coming up are like 19, 21 max, and I was kind of like, well, that's fine if you're that age and you're doing it and you're mad and you can relate more to the audience, these young kids that are coming out to the shows. But for me, it just didn't quite feel as natural. You know, I didn't want to be like that guy anymore. I'd been there. I'd done that 10 years before.
So what about
cool.
what about the because obviously you're still writing, you're still making music. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, I was always kind of doing bits and pieces, even when when we first split up from doing the Silibil Brains thing. But I mean, I am influenced by so many different things, like Hoax and Left Field, Uncle, all that kind of stuff. Was always a big part of what I was into, and at the time I was kind of getting into like like Ed Banger and Justice and all the French kind of side of stuff, that electronic side of stuff. So I started doing that. So I started producing that, and I'd made a load of songs. I thought, well, do you know what? I'll kind of get them out. I'll maybe put them out there, but I didn't want to put them out there as the Silibil name, because I just felt people would assume it was going to be hip hop, and people would look for hip hop using that name. So I just made up this other kind of. When we lived in London, we used to come up with these. We used to do these funny things where we had a big group of friends, South African friends, and we'd go out. So we'd go out for a night out, and what we'd do is we'd make a backstory. Right, tonight we are, I mean, like tonight we're a band, right? And we're on tour, and we're playing in London tomorrow night, so we're having a night out tonight. And we'd make up these characters, and we'd all be like stupid American names. And or like we're doctors, we're on a conference, or tonight we're professional surfers, and we're in Paris, we're in France, on part of the world tour, the surf tour, but we've come over to London for a night out, and so just all these stupid stuff. Just if anyone we spoke to them, just for pure entertain ourselves. And we call these the most American names you could find of, and mine was Lance Carter. So Lance Carter, I thought that was a pretty American kind of sounding name. So I was like, right, that's my guy, that's my guy. So when I went to do this music, I thought, right, I'll take away from Silibil, and I just thought, right, I'll just call it Lance Carter, and that's what I've done. So I just call it that, and I just put a few things out. So I put like an EP out. I did a couple of tracks with some other people, and then I've been working. So I've been working in the background on a load of other stuff. But it was just like, because I had it on my SoundCloud, but it was all private, and I was basically putting this collection together of stuff. And it's got to the point where I thought, you know what, I forgot I had some of this stuff, so I thought I'll just put it up. So I was kind of firing some stuff out just on YouTube. But it is all to be part of another kind of project I'm working on with a lot of different people in the background. Just still doing music, still writing, still doing music. You mean,
You've been making.
I've always been creative. I see myself as like a creative person. So
is it you just sort of do the songs that you've done in the past? You're starting to sort of make videos for songs that you'd forgotten about yourself.
Do you know what? I generally went to find something for someone. What was I looking for? I was looking for something. It's a friend that I was going to do some music stuff with, and I thought, right, I'll send them that link. So I went into my SoundCloud to try and find where it was, because I got a new laptop. I lost everything off my old one. So I was kind of panicking, like, I've lost so much stuff off hard drives and everything. And I remembered I had some stuff on SoundCloud, and I just found it. So I thought, I'll just put some videos together and put this out there, because I kind of forgot I had those songs. But like the Clocks one, for instance, like that kind of style is there's a lot more of that kind of vibe that going on, and that's kind of stuff I was making, I was producing, and I was writing everything myself, and I was doing everything just on the side, but just as a more of just to keep me being creative, not with the idea of putting it together and putting an album out or anything, just kind of just as a hobby really for myself. But then I kind of realized, do you know what, maybe I should just put a bit more effort into this, because I had it all sitting there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I've got a few things in the background.
Well, I think we'll just maybe play Clocks by Lance Carter. In fact, have you ever thought about getting into acting? Just when you're talking about how you create all these backstories and go and do stuff, is it acting never been a thing that's kind of crossed your mind?
Well, yeah.
You were acting, but I mean, actually, being an actual actor.
I never got an Oscar for it though, so that's a bit disappointing. But there was always talk of doing stuff. I mean, we were going to get our own TV show at the time, and there was loads of things going on. But yeah, no, do you know what? I've got three boys. I've got three sons, and literally my life is taken up with helping them, pushing them in the direction they want to go, and kind of supporting them. So I'm always busy. I never have time for anything else these days. I'm a full dad life. So
tell us a little bit about Clocks.
So it's something I wrote a while ago. I think I produced the music first, just as an instrumental track. the more I listened to it, the more I thought, and it's the same as a few of the songs actually. The more I listened to them, I thought, you know what, I could put vocals there. I was getting ideas for vocals. So it's actually this is the story of this. I wrote this kind of about it's almost a battle between myself and that idea of like chasing dreams and then realizing actually you're kind of chasing the wrong dream, or that kind of idea. It's kind of like realizing that actually there's more to life than just kind of chasing that dream. So it was almost not a conversation with myself, but it'd be a story about myself from myself. If that makes
Having
sense.
a word with yourself.
That's it, maybe, yeah.
Having a wee word with
Yeah.
yourself. This is on YouTube. Lance Carter, Clocks.
Time will stand still for no man. Like passing by while he typed out his life plans. Slave to ambition, he's wishing that he had it all. But he'd be glad to have anything. Time will slow down for no man. Top of the hourglass will always end up no sand. He's making moves, but the world is moving faster. This place is still the same, but faces change. Time will hold back for no man.
Sorry about that. I understand there is no audio coming through. Is that right?
Yeah, there's no the visuals there, but there's nothing in the audio.
Sounding banging from my side. Sorry, it might just been the wee audio bar was down. Was it working at all?
No, I came on and I was thinking, maybe it's just a bit quiet, but there's nothing came up.
Okay, take two. Let's go for it one more time. Sorry about that. I'm having a nightmare today. Okay, so this is Lance Carter, Clocks. Let me know if you can hear it. Can you hear that?
Yeah, thumbs up for that one.
Yeah, thumbs up. Right, let's go in. It's an absolute banging of a tune. Enjoy.
Stand still for no man. Like passing by while he typed out his life plans. Slave to ambition, he's wishing that he had it all. But he'd be glad to have anything. Time will slow down for no man. Top of the hourglass will always end up no sand. He's making moves, but the world is moving faster. This place is still the same, but faces change. Time will hold back for no man. But still he feels he's owed more than. The pill he holds in the palm of his hand lets him fade and escape from a place that is bland. Time will not pause for no man. Rough sea of hope, but his boat sank. Clocks will not stop nor be forgiven with the time. So you can chase dreams, but I'm too busy living mine.
won't stop, no. Clocks won't stop, no. Clocks won't stop, no. These clocks, they won't stop for you. Clocks don't stop, no. Clocks don't stop, no. Clocks don't stop, no. Those clocks, they won't stop for you. Clocks don't stop, no. Clocks don't stop, no. Clocks don't stop, no. Those clocks, they won't stop for you. Clocks don't stop, no. Clocks don't stop, no. Clocks don't stop, no. Those clocks, they won't stop, stop. Clocks won't stop, no. Clocks won't stop, no. Clocks won't stop, no. Clocks don't stop, no. Clocks don't stop, no. Clocks don't stop, no. Clocks don't stop, no. Those clocks, they won't stop for you. Clocks don't stop, no. 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 Those clocks, they won't stop for you.
How do we educate our children to take their place in the economies of the 21st century? How do we do that, given that we can't anticipate what the economy will look like at the end of next week? Every country on earth is trying to figure out how do we educate our children so they have a sense of cultural identity and so that we can pass on the cultural genes of our communities while being part of the process of globalization. How do we square that circle?
You call that radio?
Makes a coherent sense.
Brilliant stuff. That's Clocks.
Cheers.
Petra says Clocks. Good tune. We've got other comments coming in. I've not been keeping up to date. Alan Rodison says it's a great story. Fucking magic, man, says Alex. You are legends, guys, says Alona.
Thank you so much.
We could hear, says Dougie. Sounded fine to me, says Paul.
Oh, maybe just me then.
Here. Maybe Norway Wi-Fi's not as
not as good as we thought.
Maybe not as good as we thought it was.
Fucking
But I mean, I think it's just, luckily I've got a new computer coming. I thought it was supposed to arrive today, but it's actually going to be another 2 weeks. So I'm just going to need to make do what I've got for another 2 weeks.
Oh, nothing worse.
It's just, you know, when you know it's at the end. It's at the end of its life. It's had a good run, but it's time to sort of move on. Yeah, man. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing, man. I can hear those influences you're talking about a sort of left field uncle. It's
absolutely,
and it's, I suppose, it's good about changing your style for the vocals, like you're not rapping anymore and that stuff. It's you're going to be able to. I'm sure you still write as a rapper, so you're actually going to have all these. Probably write a page of lyrics, and then you just need to pick a few out.
Do you know what? I watched a few things of that you were talking about as well, and maybe Gyro Baby's writing type stuff as well. It's like when you're into hip hop, you always kind of write as a rapper. So it's like when I mean, I think this is a funny thing actually. One of the worst things for me, obviously, like I said, I've got kids, and growing.
One of the worst things about me is I've got kids.
I've got kids, right? Oh, I hope it didn't cut off there, did it? No. Yeah, wait a minute. I need to edit that bit in. So no, I've got kids, and one of the worst things. That's how I should have worded that. Was children's stories. So see, when you're reading a children's story and it's something like something rhyme word, and it's like something rhyme word. I'm like, fuck, that pisses me off. It's like,
hello.
Am I gone? Oh, it's not cut off.
Shit.
I hate kids, is it? What's happened? We're off.
Sorry, I'm back. There's only one. Sorry, man. I could cut off there. Sorry. So you're reading children's stories. That's what I got up to. So I'm really sorry about this, man. My computer's on the way out.
No, I don't know. I was dreading the fact that when I heard you saying shit, I thought, don't tell me it's not cut off. As I say, one of the worst things is having kids. Oh man. Oh, I thought, God, great. No, it's yeah, children's stories. You know, so when I write, I mean, when you're every single syllable in the sentence, right? And then I'll try and match stuff up to the next syllables in the next sentence. So the writing, when you're there, you're right. When you're writing it as like a rapper, it's for me, I find it easy still to make stuff work because I'm always thinking about how the syllables work and that. And when I was on about children's stories, I hate it when the children's stories don't do that because to me it just doesn't flow. And I just start getting angry. I'm like, oh, that's it. Right. I'm going to start writing children's stories because they're not done properly. But when you do get one like that, like, you know, like the Gruffalo and stuff, like Julia Donaldson, her stuff does work. And I love it. So I'm like, yeah, that's just like, you can feel the rhythm as you read. And I think a lot of, I don't know, maybe there's not a lot of hip hop dads, but with they might find that as well. Is it just one thing that frustrates me? So
lazy writing.
Something that's it's just absolutely lazy writing. And then
do you know what I think? I think
rappers do it.
I think everyone gets away with a lot outside of hip hop. You know, I mean, obviously there's shite hip hop as well, but to be credible, you need to be doing some good stuff. And indie rock scene, I was going to say Glasgow, but it's not. It's everywhere. It's just you can get some really good music and really good songs, and you're like, that lyric's just been shot out in a couple of minutes. Could you know it's a good song? Could you know I've just spent a wee bit longer and just thought about the lyrics? But I suppose it's not really as important.
I mean, I'll hear something. I mean, even as big as Ed Sheeran, I'll hear something and it's like, why did you not say that word there? That word would have fitted so much. It would have rhymed better. It would have fitted better. I do. I think it's a curse. It's a curse that I've spent so many years, so many hours perfecting that craft of writing how I wanted it to sound, that now I just see it everywhere. You know, it's like it's a bit of a curse.
I was recording a Jackal Trades, which is a kind of hip hop side project I do on Saturday night, and all week I've been thinking about record. It was a few tunes I didn't know what one to record, but I was like, that one's pretty much finished. But there was just one line in it where I've rhymed swimming pool with cool, and I was like, I can't have that in the song, even though the rest of the line is that. The rest of the line was good. But I just went, there's just certain, I don't want to rhyme fire with desire, and I don't want to rhyme swimming pool with cool. And there's just certain things that I just like, to me, because to me it just looks like there must be a better way to say this rather than that. And it turns out there was. I changed it to deep end to freezing. And the way I say freezing rhymes with deep end. And I was like, right, there you go. Yeah, it works much better. It makes a song. So, but it's quite interesting.
I'll listen to it now. I wasn't going to listen to it if you said swimming pool and cool. I was going down the trash.
I've got my own standards. I was like, that's not acceptable.
That's it. That's it.
I was like, there must be a better way to say what I'm trying to say. But it's quite interesting that from, I mean, obviously it was hip hop that got, when I was writing, even secretly writing at school or like in my teenage years, I didn't tell anyone I wrote or anything like that, but I was always writing, and it was kind of to a kind of hip hop instrumental beat would be the sort of thing that I would like writing to. And obviously I thought I invented Scottish hip hop for a while as well, like many people my age that didn't really have access to internet or wasn't part of the scene. And then I just kind of scrapped it. I think I had Loki's Friendly Word album, and it was like a million light years ahead of anything I was doing. So I was just sort of scrapped that dream for a while, and started years later being a kind of sort of, which turned out to be a punk band, not deliberately, just because we weren't very good at our instruments, and I wasn't very good at singing. So that's how it sounded, kind of grungy, punky. And then, but I always wrote to if you listen to the early Gyro stuff, you could probably do it over it was probably written over Dr. Dre beats, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's like, I think is there a short documentary or something about the Gyro Babies. I'm sure I've seen something
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, there is.
where you're
Martin
talking about
Lindebank. Martin
and you
Lindebank
talk
did a
about
good
your
one.
yeah, I remember watching it. It was good. And you talk about your influence and stuff, and you talk about hip hop and being influenced by hip hop, trying to kind of sneak that into the band. And
Yeah,
you can totally
that's
hear
the
it.
one,
Yeah, you
that's
can totally
the
hear it, and you can tell like when you're right, it's how it's done like that, you know. But again, I think that has that kind of influence as well of that uncle type style. You know, if you hear like or the left field stuff when they do cross over into that trip hop into with hip hop or with rappers. Yeah, it just has that natural flow to it. You
But
know, and I think you can hear
here's
it.
a question though. Here's a question though. It's I think undoubtedly, especially since I started doing Jackal Trades, which was hip hop. Again, it made me, you know, I was even more determined because obviously I think like I said, in indie rock and the punk scenes, people get away with a lot that you wouldn't get away with in hip hop. But so by trying to write in a hip hop style, you're lyrically flow, the tightness sounds a bit better than the average people in that scene. However, when you're going back into hip hop, I was like, right, I've been wanting this for ages, so I've got to make it good. So I really worked hard on the lyrics to sort of multisyllabics and, you know, metaphors, just generally just wanting it to be a good piece of work. But now I've noticed as I'm going back to writing Gyro's tunes that I'm actually overcomplicating it sometimes. And I think you might be probably feeling that as well because you're going into the dance music sphere where it's not as important. Because at the end of the day, a good line is a good line, and it doesn't need to, you know, when I'm saying lazy, I don't mean that you know, just for anyone else watching out there. Yeah, it's not. But you want to do lazy as in picking stupid words when you could have found better words. If you actually thought about it for 20 more minutes, you would have got it better. But also, I think there is an element of overcomplicating it. And at the end of the day, if you've just got a good hook, you can just repeat that good hook. And sometimes the most powerful things are the simplest things. And that's what I'm trying to sort of weigh up just now as well when I'm going back to Gyro Baby stuff, because it doesn't need to be multisyllabic. So just, you know, what is the best way to describe how I'm feeling, sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you know what I watched something? Was it Spee that was talking about it? Maybe I watched something recently, and they were talking about how they had this style. I don't think it was. It was something. They were talking about how they had this style, right? Where they, I know exactly what you mean, right? I tried to make each line perfect, right? That's the perfect line. But then sometimes you need to let the lyrics breathe. And I think in hip hop, I struggle to do that because I want it to flow. I want to keep going and keep going and keep going. But then sometimes when you cross over into that, like you're talking about, you almost have to dumb it down. Is definitely the wrong term, because there's great songs written
Simplify
out there.
Simplify it.
Yeah, you have to simplify it to suit to let it breathe and to let the vocals kind of breathe on the track. You know, whereas hip hop is there's a bit more. I don't know. It's like there's a bit more urgency to get it to get all the words in. And I'll find myself as well when I'm writing to a different type of beat. I mean, like for instance, when grime came big, someone had sent me a grime beat, and I thought I could write grime easy, right? I have no problem. I'll write over grime. And then I started writing over it, and I was thinking, I can't fit all the words in, because it's almost simplified in that you can get away with saying, you don't have to say so much things, you know, per line. Sorry, words per line. Yeah. You totally get away with it.
Grime's a good thing. It's like, you know, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
lighters in the air. Lighters in the air. Lighters in the air.
Yeah, nothing more. I mean, it's the same as all. There's a lot of stuff now. There's a lot of. I don't even want to use the word hip hop because it doesn't do hip hop justice. But there's a lot of rap stuff out there now. That's I don't know. It's just it's horrible stuff. And it's like they're just rhyming the same word with the same word.
It's been quite good though. Recently, it's been quite good.
What's going on?
It's because there's so many good trap beats about, but all the people that were doing those songs were just not my scene. I understand young people really like it, but it's just not. I don't see what it wasn't saying anything. It's quite good to see now the kind of boom bap battle of boom bap versus trap, but now it's quite good because we're getting some good boom bap rappers over really lush trap beats. Empress is a good example of that. Or Empress. I maybe been saying her name wrong the whole time. Stig G told me the other day. But you know, you've got a really lush trap beat, and then you've got a boom bap rapper trying to sort of fit their style and around it, which is quite good to listen to.
Well, I've had a lot of like boom bap stuff recently over the last recent year. Well, for instance, Joey Badass was one that came out when he came out with that first mixtape or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I was like, oh wow, this feels like early Nas. It feels like, do you mean it feels this is now, and this kid is like cool, and he's in with the other kids in the style way, and as in the fashion style, but his whole vibe sounded to me like early Nas, and I was just like, oh, wow, this is what I've been missing. This is what hip hop's been missing. But then I think he changed a wee bit as well. But I've been hearing loads of stuff, loads of little random guys that get shared on Instagram and stuff, and it's and I love to hear it. It's almost refreshing, you know. It's almost like there's almost like a surge towards going against that whole trap vibe and the kind of simplified rap culture that we've got these days. There's this space for these guys to come through with a vintage sound, let's call it, you know, and it's brilliant. I love it.
And is there anyone who so you mentioned Joey Badass, is there anyone else who would you sort of, I don't want to give you the top 5 question because that stuff keeps me awake. It would take me 2 weeks to work it out, and then I would change. I've thought about this recently. I've been doing loads of walking recently. I'll just put music on. I'll just walk, and I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I don't think anyone could ever. Although there was something, an album came on or something, or a song came on, I thought, oh, that's definitely a top. And I thought, no, don't even say it, because once you start getting into it, it's how can anyone do it? How can anyone say that? But then people, what gets me, not it doesn't get me mad, but what I find bizarre is that people argue about it. So people argue, but how can you possibly argue like with someone else's top 5? Because it's personal to you, you know. It's what you're into. I'll still argue myself though if I see a stupid name on it. I know it's your top 5, but you're wrong. You're wrong. Yeah. Is there anyone? Okay, let's approach the question a wee bit differently. Is there anyone who you would definitely consider for your top 5 that stands out?
Of all time, or like around
all
now?
All time. Let's go all time.
Rapper wise, I don't know. It's difficult for me because I can kind of cross over as well, because I mean I love all like the Army of the Pharaoh stuff, the Apathy, all those kind of guys. But then obviously like Redman's probably my favorite rapper of all time. Is Redman, just because of styles and flows. Eminem, I don't believe anyone can leave Eminem out. I mean nowadays it doesn't do anything for me at all. But the Slim Shady LP for me is probably top 3, only because it changed everything, especially for me being a white guy into hip hop. It changed absolutely everything. So that kind of thing. But then also I like Big Pun, I like the Alcoholics, all those kind of stuff that I kind of grew up on, you know. So it's, I don't know, I just find it really difficult. Far Side, I find it really difficult to even start with the top 5. Nowadays though, I tell you someone who blew me away over the last few years is Joyner Lucas. I don't know if you've listened to any Joyner Lucas stuff, but if you go and watch his videos on YouTube, maybe not this newer stuff, but some of the stuff that he was doing before he wasn't really known. Like if you watch it, I mean, his storytelling is incredible. It's like every video is like a movie. If you go and watch them, every video is like a movie, and then you just think how clever it was to write like that. But the way he does it in different styles as well, and he is multi-syllable, the way he writes stuff.
Rock, I've been really getting into much more in his later years, just because it's quite good to hear someone writing as a mature rapper in a good way, like writing about what they're actually, how they're seeing it, not trying to act young, if that makes sense. And and obviously the writing's impeccable on it as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's something that puts me off when, because I mean I've still got some sort of hip hop stuff, and it's something that I probably will do in the background just because I'm working with some other people, but that's what puts me off. It's like I'm not like, I see. I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, but when you talk about like Scottish rappers, like when you and Spee and that were talking about things, it's like I can't relate to these guys. See these young guys that are like, okay, and that's it. I'm round at the flat and I've got Bucky and I'm doing this. I can't relate to that. It doesn't, do you mean, because it's not. I'm old. I'm an old man now. So it's like, how can I go and write stuff that like is going to relate to these young kids? So yeah, that's one thing I think would be quite difficult getting to that age, because like I said about the whole thing with the eat your brain stuff and everything as well. I felt like it wasn't me anymore. You know, I just felt like so it is good to hear someone that can mature with it.
Aesop Rock's a good example. I think Nas is a bit can be hit and miss, but when Nas is on form, he's on form. We've got Paul saying Rakim.
Legend.
The Slim Shady LP was a total game changer for rap back in the day. It was if you were there. If you
absolutely was. It changed the whole style. I mean, people were rapping. It was
one as well. That I just remember the summer back in the days when you actually had to have a CD to play something. It was just
What did you say? 2001.
2001.
Right. This is what hit me with the other day when I was out walking. Right. So it wasn't a song from that, but I was thinking about when I started messing myself up with thinking top fives, and I was thinking, well, yeah, the Chronic. I used to listen to the Chronic back in the day. That was definitely a classic back in the day. And I thought, oh, but the 2001 is definitely up there. It's probably better than the Chronic, but then is it not as much of a classic as the Chronic because it was more commercialised? You know what I mean?
I think for my age, it's blasphemy to say that, but the 2001 was actually better. I played it more to me.
Yeah, you're right.
I think it's just because it was a wee bit too. I think it was just a bit too young. So obviously, I loved the Chronic, but I heard that. I think I listened to that after 2001 because that's how I got into Dre, and then so I was like going back to that. So it was kind of like that. That's why for me, 2001, and there's not one song that you skip on it apart from the shagging noises. But track 50, you need to skip that bit. The rest of it, it's quite unusual in hip hop as well to get a good complete album because it's usually people are quite good at making a good banger. But I think it's because they try and put too many tracks on it, like 16, 18 tracks or skits. There seems to be like a formula. You've got to have the sad song, you've got to have the stoner song. And sometimes it can be a wee bit formulaic because people are doing stuff that they're not naturally good at.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang Clan, that's a good one, Lou.
Yeah. So 36 Chambers is an absolute classic.
And Cypress Hill, NWA, all of that stuff's really important.
Yeah.
Cypress Hill.
That's what I mean. You can't do it, can you? There's no possible way of having a top five in hip hop. If you're a hip hop head, you've grown up with hip hop, you can't do a top five. No way.
And like you said, it's based on your circumstances, where you're at in life, what is going to be relevant to you.
Yeah, it changes all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Petra says, I find that young people are not too judgmental about oldies speaking as an elder. Yeah, well, I think that is the point. I think if you just write about what's true to you, then it comes across as genuine. So this is point you talking about rapping, drinking Bucky. If you're not drinking Bucky,
that's it. Do you mean? And I don't mean that, and that's not a diss to anybody whatsoever. What I'm trying to say is I can't relate to certain things. Like certain people will not be able to relate to what I do, and like you'll not be able to relate to someone in New York. Do you know what I mean? So it's I find it difficult as I get older. When I was younger, nothing fazed me. I just was into everything. I'm into that, and I get that. But now as I get older, I start to feel like, well, do you know what? I can't really relate to that, and I don't really want to put myself in the position of doing something that I don't really feel comfortable with anymore because I don't need to. Do you know what I mean? I'm older now. I'm not trying to get out there and trying to make it. Whereas in a younger day, you would have been,
I write says I call this radio. Thank you very much. And
nice.
Another great show, Mark. Thanks again. Thomas the Search Engine, big up B Production. Shouts to Thomas the Search Engine. He's actually sent me a couple of beats that I'm working on just now for Jackal Trades. And also check out Thomas the Search Engine's new drone footage. He's got a drone and he's making some beautiful Scottish from the air, Scotland from the air videos with his own unique soundtrack on it. Desert Island Discs. Yeah, that's the same question, isn't it? It's like, what would be your 3 albums? I don't know. That stuff really annoys me. It's like I got tagged in a thing the other day. It was like, you're supposed to give your top 10 albums one a day. And I just waste too much time thinking about it. So I don't do them. There's no point in tagging me in those competitions. I won't do them. Shelto Mel says Reggie Noble, one of the GOATs. Also, Shelto Mel with a question for you. How did you get into hip hop in the first place? So, that's kind of what we're talking about anyway. But when was the first moment where you thought, that's for me? No audio. Sorry, man. Billy, can you hear me all right? I can't hear you. And I thought it was just me again. But Petra says no audio. Do you know what? I'm just going to remove you. I'll kick you out the studio and just come back in. Come back in, Billy. Yeah, we can't hear Billy. I hear that. Can't hear. The sound has dropped off. Cliffhanger. Shelto Mel, your question is a cliffhanger. What did get Billy into hip hop? Can you guess? Maybe you could guess in the comments while we're waiting Billy coming back on. I've kicked him out the studio with love, but he needs to come back in. I don't know why that cut off. I thought it was just me at first. What else we got? So what's your response to the Marquis Smith and Prince? You asked a question earlier on, didn't you? Sorry, I've not kept up with all the comments today. Let me see what you asked, Captain. Let me see if I can respond. Ever heard the story that only 2 people that could recruit people from the street was Marquis Smith and Prince? Marquis Smith said that. I don't know what you mean. Well, if Marquis Smith said that, then it's probably true. I don't know what you want me to say. Maybe that is true. But I'm sure there's other people that have recruited people from the streets. I know that Gordie Duncan Jr. recruited Dope Sick Fly from the streets. Dope Sick Fly was busking. Gordie went up to him in the street and said, "Do you want to do a tune together?" And the rest is history. So let's change that to Prince. Marquis Smith is back.
I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, man. I don't know why.
Right, I'll tell you what I've done. I've moved over to the laptop because
all right.
I think my phone was playing up. So
that's fine, man. I think, see, boys, the earphones is only... It's when it's busy. Yeah, it's fine. I think it's the main problem is, see, when it's a really busy time of the internet, like Friday nights and Saturday nights, we notice that we need the headphones. Okay. And also sometimes it's another problem when sometimes we have about 10 people on this show at the same time and it turns into a rammy if people don't have earphones on. But this is fine, man. Absolutely fine. So, yeah, the cliffhanger question that we stopped in the audio was what got you to hip hop in the first place?
Nothing. I hate it. No, yeah, so I don't know what anybody heard, if anyone heard anything of it.
I don't think they heard nothing. They heard nothing.
Oh, that's good because I felt like I've said something stupid.
Cool.
No, like so I grew up listening to Michael Jackson, a lot of Motown stuff. My mum had a lot of Motown records and stuff growing up in the house. So that's what I listened to. And then in the UK, I think in the UK charts there was Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer were in the charts, and I just automatically kind of went into, I like the sound of that kind of, I don't know, I just like listening to soul and funk and stuff. That it just felt kind of natural to do that, to like that. And then I had a friend in primary 7. I had a friend who came in with his Sony Walkman. I told you I was showing my age, and he had an NWA tape. I was like, "Hey man, you need to listen to this," and I listened to it, and I was like, "Oh my god, they're swearing." They're cursing on the record, and that was it. I was like, right, I love this. That's me. I'm into hip hop. This is cool, and I kind of just grew from there. So NWA was the first thing that I'd heard actual hip hop.
What is it about swearing that young kids love? They love, because I had the same thing with, I think it was Guns N' Roses, the parental advisory sticker on it, and also I remember buying the Warren G CD. This DJ, I think it was the single at our price, and at the parental advisory, and I remember drawing with a black marker over the parental advisory sticker, so I didn't get any trouble for listening to the swear words.
That was probably one of the first things I actually bought myself, was a Warren G. I think was it Warren G? Was it Regulate? I bought that on CD.
Well, that was
at Woolworths back in the day. And then from there it was just so easy to get into. Like I don't know, at high school it was, you were picking up West Coast stuff at that time then, so there was like the Chronic album, and I think that was kind of what I got into. I know a lot of people went in through listening to things like maybe Rakim and all like East Coast kind of stuff, but for me it was, I don't know why, I think just because it was NWA was the first thing I heard, so that was me, absolute gangster West Coaster.
We've got a comment from Thomas the Search Engine, says, "I've got photos from me and Lenny Second Nature came to hang out with you lads back in 2001. Remember the gig we did in, was it the Mission or something? Looking well, man."
Oh my god, brilliant! Yeah, great guys. There, so yeah, let's say some West Coast hip hop for you there, but in a Scottish vibe. Yeah, absolutely remember those guys. I can't remember the name of the place. Was it called the Mission? Yeah, it was through the guys that did the Region Rooms in Dundee. So that was kind of, and it was the Purple Rooms back in the day. we've seen a lot of acts and stuff there. But yeah, those guys, yeah, we did tracks with those guys. Who else did we do tracks with back in the day? Prophecy as well from Scotland Yard crew. Yeah,
Scotland Yard crew.
So we would. I mean, this was before Silibil and Brains. So when he said B Production, actually, that's what we used to call ourselves, B Production.
He's also added that I remember being blown away by you, Gavin, Oscar's work ethic. Also remember you rapped in French too, and my jaw hitting the floor when I found out what you and Gavin got up to.
Oh, good times. Well, that's so good to hear. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
What would have happened though? Because obviously, they said in the Vice documentary that came out last week, it said that something like you swore family members to secrecy, but if you had actually became like you know, would there not have been people that did know you that you didn't know that well? That if you'd actually just, you know, had a chart success or something, then then you would have got rumbled that way eventually because people would have went the way I know them.
Yeah, I mean that's that was something that was always on our mind that kind of gave us a little bit of stress. But I think we were kind of confident that if I had to be all or nothing. We couldn't just come out and be like, okay, yeah, there you go. They've had a song in the charts, number 43 in the UK charts. We either had to become like, oh my God, have you seen these new rappers? These are the best thing ever. Or not at all. So we're kind of hoping that it would be the first one. And then
if you're already selling records and you get rumbled in, it probably would have been fine because you're already in the record label contract. They can't, they're tied into. So they've just got to support it, and also you could just deny as well. Just say, "I don't know where this shit comes from." Of course, we're not from our.
That guy's crazy. I don't know who he is.
Would you think that? What would you think you would have done if that had done? So, Charles, imagine that you've had the top 10 hit, and then all of a sudden something comes in the papers, like Sunday Mail exposed the year for Dundee. Would you think, or Arbroath? Would you just deny it?
No, I don't think we'd get to that point. Do you know what? See, actually. So a part of it that's not really talked about or been mentioned much as well is, and not here, I mean like in general since the story came out, was that we kind of tried to backtrack slightly in the way that I don't think anyone really cared, right? No one really said, so where are you from? So where were you born? What school did you go to? No one asked questions. Everyone just thought they're American guys. And because we said we'd been traveling so much as well, I kind of started to break into the story that I was actually born in Scotland, but I just moved there when I was a teenager. I moved to America. So, do you know what I mean? Just so that in this situation, someone came out and said, I would be able to backtrack and go, yeah, I told you about that. You knew that. I told you I was from Scotland. So we kind of tried to fit a little, almost get out clauses into
was there ever a situation, are you talking to like an American artist or an English artist and they mention that they're touring Scotland and you're just got to act like, oh, Scotland, aye.
I'll tell you one funny thing that we done that was like that was we got asked to play. So I'm going to make it sound really fucking lame now, but our tour manager, stroke security guy at the time, we don't have security or anything like that, but I mean, he was kind of like this big guy right from the East End of London, big huge West Ham fan. And he was like heavily involved in West Ham kind of things. And there was a charity event coming up, and it was like a football charity thing. It was happening at Upton Park. Was it that West Ham stuff?
Yeah.
Anyway, it was Upton Park, and it was like a lot of celebrities and stuff were playing. And because he was obviously tied into the club, he's like, "Oh, I've got these two guys. These guys would come down and play. Do you know how to play football?" And we do know how to play football, right? But we're thinking, right, we can't go. Yeah, we're pretty good at football, yeah. So we're like, soccer? Yeah, we can play a little. And so we had to pretend we didn't really fucking know anything about this game. But we're actually pretty good. So like, I remember being there and I remember scoring a couple of goals during this kind of thing that was going on. And people was like, oh, fucking hell, you guys are pretty good, man. Well, we weren't saying it. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good, man. But yeah, we were just like, yeah, we kind of got lucky. And it was like, fuck, we were thinking, how do we balance that? Do you know what I mean? So it was one of those things where you have to pretend.
So you actually throwing the game a wee bit. You didn't want to be too good.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. We're not messy or anything like that. But we were better than we made out. Anyway, that's for sure.
Glue says, "Is there anyone remembers TQ?" I could really be showing my age here. I don't know what TQ. I don't know. Maybe you're showing your age, Lou. I don't think you're that much older than me, but I don't remember TQ. Petra says, who was the West Ham manager fan? Petra knows everyone.
Yeah, do you know what? I can't remember his name now.
No. What was it? What, did you get any like once it now that it's all came out in the wash? What actually happened? Did you get any good reactions or bad reactions from people that you duped along the way? Did some people were pissed off about it, or were some people thought that was hilarious, or what was the general reaction?
I think initially there probably would have been some people who were pissed off, but I mean, I wasn't. I think Gav felt the brunt of it more than me because he was still down there. Dale features in the documentary. He was our kind of acting manager. So he worked for Charlotte Global, which was the management company we signed for, and he was kind of our personal manager, if that makes sense. Like he overseen us, and dealt with us, taking us to the labels and all kind of stuff. And I remember him. I think his instant reaction was "motherfuckers." But then, I mean, I've met Dale for drinks and stuff now in London when I've been in town and stuff. So it's all good now. But I'd imagine at the time, yeah, some people would have been a bit like, "What the fuck is?" I mean, when
you're talking about the MTV thing, you said you had a band with you. Now, was the whole band Scottish then? They were all in it, or was there people was there someone in the band that didn't know?
No, they all know. To begin with, I don't think they all knew. So one of my best friends from back home, like I said, he was in the band, so he knew. And then actually our guitarist was from South Africa. He was living in London, so it wasn't quite as obvious as like, do you mean we didn't turn up with Biffy Clyro one day and just be like, how did you meet these guys? Like, oh, it's Scottish band's come down. So yeah, so it was a bit mixed. So it wasn't, but they did know. But then we had a very tight group and a tight circle of people that did know. But obviously there was always that worry that someone's going to tell someone and someone's going to tell someone else, and it'll kind of grow a little bit. But most people, I mean, we had like really good friends that didn't know. Well, Dale being one of them. I mean, Dale obviously worked for the management company, but he was a really good friend. And he didn't know. So there was a lot of people that didn't know, but the close group, yeah, the guys, they knew what was up there.
And when, you know, were they, I mean, they obviously had less pressure on them, so I would imagine that they would have actually really enjoyed the role. Because I think that what you've done was extreme. But if you're in the background, you can kind of just, because they were allowed to be Scottish, is that right? So... Yeah.
So they were totally being themselves. They didn't have to. I mean, we decided we met them. Do you mean we met these guys and we kind of put a band together?
What happened to the band? Are they still playing music or anything like that?
No. I think some of them are, but they went on to do different things. And then the bands all kind of. Once I left. Well, I mean, the band wasn't really there anymore anyway, but Gav set up a new band. So he had different, I think he had one of the guys that was kind of helping out now and then in the band, and he kind of kept it going, but it was all different guys all the time for his projects. But yeah, no, everyone just went off and did different things. I mean, they weren't signed as well, so it was a bit harder to have them involved in everything as well, because the kind of management and the record label were like, well, what are these guys doing here? But obviously they just kind of performed. So I mean, I guess nowadays it would be like just someone having a band, a touring band. Do you mean? They weren't really a focal part of the band, but we tried to make them a focal part of the band and turn Silibil and Brains into this 5-piece rather than just a 2-piece. But that was all kind of towards the tail end of it anyway. So,
with regards to the record deal itself, how much did you, if you don't mind talking about that way, what was the advance like? Were you actually living the rock and roll lifestyle?
Do you know what? We were absolutely living the rock and roll lifestyle, but it's, I don't know, it's been reported. I mean, I've seen so many things that just makes me laugh at certain points, and I'm like, well, like, the rappers that made millions of pounds. I'm like, oh, I better check my bank account in case I've still got some of that left. But do you know, it was never like that. It was never a case of like, there's a check through the door for £1 million. Oh, brilliant! It was the money we had spent on us was a lot of money, and I mean, like, obviously our accommodation was free. Taxis, pick you up, take you here, pick you up, take you here. That was all free. The studio time was all free. Everything we wanted to do for our live shows, do you mean, was all free? So that kind of thing. So, I mean, when I say free, obviously I don't mean free. What I mean is it's expensed. So that was the money that racked up for when people.
Yeah, well, if you were doing that as an independent artist and you were paying for all your, you know, the taxis, the studio time as well. I mean, that's an expense.
And this wasn't like small studios. I mean, there was there was huge bands and stuff were recording next to us and in the studio next to us and everything. So I mean, it was all. If you were a small independent band, you wouldn't have done the stuff we've done in the places that we did it in. So
who were the bands? Because we've got a wee section on this show that we like to call the name drop, and I think you've already done a couple.
Oh,
I think
that's
that I think your Bedingfield story was worthy of the name drop logo as well. But who was I seen in the Vice documentary while you were recording, there was some big names next to you. Who can you remember who the big names were?
Was Muse? I think Muse was maybe one of them. I remember Muse was becoming big at the time. On MTV, we were when we were on MTV, there was a load of acts that were coming big at the time as well. Block Party, I think, were on there. I can't even remember. There was just constant. And I was kind of a lot of parties and stuff as well, that you were just constantly around people. But yeah, obviously D12, Green Day, Kelly Osbourne, Sharon Osbourne, that kind of those kind of parties, just a bit wild. But yeah, do you know what? It was just non-stop. But band-wise in the studios, I can't remember who it was, but I remember Muse being there. Not Grime, what was it called at the time? Garage was used at the time. So Solid Crew were always around the studio, which was not really worthy of a name drop, I don't think, but you know what I mean.
No, it's good. Was Sharon Osbourne like at a party?
Do you know, she was quite funny actually, because I think this was at the time when Kelly was going through a bit of a wild
changes.
Time. Let's call it a wild
changes.
Time. Yeah. I see you've done. So she was going through a bit of a wild time, and this was at the Brit Awards actually. And when I met her and we were like speaking and stuff, and she said, "Oh yeah, come on, we're doing this party." And I remember Sharon actually being pretty pissed off because she was trying to get her to stay away from parties and all this kind of stuff. So she was funny because we met Sharon again at another time when we were on one of the MTV things. I think it was maybe the TRL thing actually. She was on as a guest for something, and Tony Hawk was on for a guest in something, and that was the show that we were on for TRL, or that was maybe something else we got invited to for the MTV. I don't know, but that's the few times we met Sharon was that, and she was kind of cool about it after that. But I think she was a bit pissed off that we looked like we're leading Kelly the wrong way. But I don't think she really needed anyone to lead her away. If you know what I mean.
We've got TQ fact check. TQ was a West Coast American rapper. And he did the classic hit West Side, which after Googling, an absolute hit. But I wasn't into TQ.
TQ, I don't think so. I don't even remember. I didn't even recognise the name.
Yeah, well done, Lou. You stumped us, but yeah.
Yeah, I will check that.
Petra, going back to the West Ham manager guy, did it happen to be Harry the dog?
No, that doesn't ring a bell, but that does sound like an interesting story, Petra.
And she also likes Watsky, who's quite poppy, like. Yeah, I know Watsky.
Yeah, I know that name,
yeah. Yeah, and so what's your sort of end on the, I know that I've kept you for 2 hours, and I know that you're in Norway time, which is an hour ahead, and you've worked tomorrow, and I appreciate you spending 2 hours and you call that radio, man. Much appreciated.
Been enjoying it.
What is so there might be a film. I mean, do you ever think about writing your own book to give your side of the story?
Yeah, I've wrote a lot of things, and I've been just in discussions recently with a few things about kind of my side of the story, or I'm going to say like my side of the story as in Gav's just totally wrong or whatever. It's more
well, no, it's just that everyone sees the world through different eyes.
Yeah,
so
yeah, and it's more doing it. Yeah, slightly, yeah, and it's more about do you know what, you've just summed up. That's what I was going to say. It's more like how it was seen through my eyes, not more of a this is my story, but it's more things that how I seen things and things that I was involved in. Do you mean that maybe Gav wasn't involved in as well? So it's there's a lot of things talking about that. There'll be things
that will stick in your head, because obviously you were living a very surreal lifestyle where you're bumping into celebrities and you're doing all this stuff. So there'll be things that will stick in your head that maybe won't stick in Gav's head. And maybe there'll be things that
I seen. I think Gav. I seen something Gav was mentioned once about, and what he said was, "There's a load of stuff that you can't cram everything into, kind of almost one documentary or one book or something. There was so much stuff that you're saying. It was just this non-stop surreal world that we were totally embedded in, and I think there's always going to be little bits that say, oh yeah, because I mean, there was something I did a podcast with a friend who was doing stuff a couple of months ago, actually during lockdown. He was doing some stuff and he asked me if he'd come on it, and I was doing it, and and the people were commenting as well. So people were like leaving comments. It's just kind of like what you're saying, with people commenting there. And it was one of our friends, and he said, "Oh, tell him about the D12 backstory thing." And so there's a lot, and I was like, "Oh yeah, well actually, what happened was, so there was a lot of things that's like, I forget. Do you mean you forget about things until someone mentions someone that triggers it? So there's going to be so many different things that have not been told yet, or have not been. Do you know how the full emphasis on it? But yeah, what's the
podcast called? What's the podcast?
Oh no, this is live. It's going to be so annoying now. Why'd you put me on a spot like that?
Well,
actually, if you go on, it's just set up. Actually, it's set up as a YouTube thing now. So if you go on to my Facebook page, he's just actually shared my one because it wasn't live. It wasn't like this. It wasn't a live thing. It was. Oh no, it was live. It was live. I'm talking about. It was live. It was like on. I think it was on Instagram or somebody done it, an Instagram live thing. So now that's up. That's up now. He's transferred everything over to YouTube, so you can like you've done with yours. So you can go back and check.
Inside of You. Is it called? No, it's not. It's a different Billy Boyd.
I'm just
having a wee quick Google. Yeah. Well, we'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put the link in the comments for the podcast.
No, I mean it's Dean Wallace that's done it. The guy Dean Wallace, but that's what I was on his Instagram. I think he's just branded it now. So I'm just trying to see if I can check for you. What's he called?
I think I've got it. I've got it.
It's just the Dean Wallace show.
Came out yesterday. Came out yesterday.
Yeah, Dean Wallace show. I know he's just thingied it, so I wanted to just make sure I got the name of it.
Just giving a wee subscribe. I'm just going to put the link. The premiere begins on YouTube on the 10th of August. The 10th of August? Is this not the 10th of August? Is this the 3rd of August?
No, this must be is this the 10th or the 11th? 10th?
This is the right. Okay, this is the 10th. So it's actually premiere. It's going to begin at 4 o'clock. Or maybe he's got it on American time, because I'll show you what I've got here. Hold on, I'm just going to show the people in case they want to check this out, because it's probably a good plug.
He's done a lot of stuff with different like footballers and everything as well. And
I'm aware of Dean Wilson. He did a great interview with Gary Robertson, a singer from the Cundies, who I've had on the show before as well. So I'm going to put the link in the comments. So it's premiering. It says 4 o'clock on the 10th, but it's actually already after 4 o'clock on the 10th. So I think he's maybe got it in American time or something. So it'll probably come out at some point tonight. But he's doing a great job, man. I mean, he just came. The podcast came out of nowhere. He's obviously got a loyal fan base already, and he's picking some really good guests. And he's getting footballers and stuff. And I've not actually had a footballer on here. It'd be quite good. But if I get a former Celtic guy, I'll need to get a former Rangers guy as well, because we're broadcasting from Glasgow, and people take that shit seriously. So So that will premiere, and check that. I'll put the link in the comments for anyone to check that out. For your SoundCloud, for it, so people are enjoying that Clock song. What's Lance Carter on SoundCloud?
Yeah, Lance. I think it's just Lance Carter on SoundCloud, and then it's just on YouTube. I think the YouTube is just Silibil. I am Silibil Billy Boyd. So, Silibil Billy Boyd was most of the stuff. Instagram, it's just Silibil, and then Billy Boyd on Facebook. That's it. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff going on in the background, so there's a lot of stuff that's kind of kept private just now until I get it packaged perfectly the way I kind of want. Okay, that's it. I can put that out as something now, But it's just been a lot of creative collaborations, kind of trying to piece it all together, really.
Right, now, well, keep your eyes peeled. Hopefully, there's a book eventually from your side. Hopefully, the Hollywood movie happens.
The musical.
A musical, and a Lance Carter album would be good as well. So thank you very much, Billy, and I appreciate you doing it. Do you still talk to Gavin?
I haven't talked to him for a while. I mean, it's not that we wouldn't talk to him or look to do stuff. I think he's just so busy. He's both busy doing your own things at the moment. Yeah, we're both highly involved in our own stuff now, and like I say, he's very, very hard-working guy. He never stops writing. So he's just busy doing his thing, and I'm doing mine. That's it.
To play us out, what is your favourite tune from the Silibil and Brains time?
Good.
Anything that you're like, yeah.
Do you know what? It probably would have been Medicine, but there was another song that we did. It was like a remix for the Beatnuts that we done actually, which was Keep It Hot. which was the Beatnuts track. I think that's on YouTube somewhere. But we got asked to do the UK version for the UK release. We got asked to do like a B-side to that sort of thing. So
got it here, man. Perfect. It's an absolute banger of a beat. I've not heard it myself.
Remember, this is Silibil and Brain's full-on American time as well. So
full-on American thing. Well, that's a question. So when it's all came out, now you can be Scottish again. Is it hard to try and unlearn all the skills you've learned as an American writer?
No, I don't think so. No. Like we talked about earlier on, some words are different. Some words, it's not as easy to rhyme. I think it's easy to rhyme in American because they give so much drawl and slang and the way they say certain words. You can say one word 10 different ways, so you can make it rhyme to something else. But it's not as easy as in Scottish. But to me, to be honest, that the whole hip hop thing doesn't really. I don't know. I'm looking. The stuff I'm trying to do hip hop wise now is a lot more grown up, more trip poppy kind of thing, like we discussed earlier as well. And Petra was on about it, more like a.
Shout outs to Minerva Wakes. Trip hop. Minerva Wakes is a new song out this week as well, which is amazing. In the trip hop.
I heard that, yeah.
Amazing stuff. So, but I think I would just agree with that. Is well, the way that I write is I write Scottish slang, but also in order to make a word rhyme, I will pronounce a word in the Queen's English if it's needed. So I suppose what you've maybe got now is you're being able to draw upon your Scottish stuff, and you've already got the skills to be an American writer, so you can rhyme, say a word properly, or like not properly, but like an American would, or like an English person would say a word, and then you can now use all these Scottish words. But I know the funny thing is is it medicine? I think Gavin says wee man, but it's like did you ever just try and sneak a bit of Scottish things in, or was that too jailbait?
Yeah, too much. I remember the once actually with the same driver we were talking about, the tour manager guy. He we did something once. We were on our way to a show, right, and we were driving through London to the other side, and I remember someone had done something, and I think I put on a London accent, just kind of mimicking him because he was taking the piss out of Scottish guy. He was calling us sweaty socks, and because we were just pretending we didn't know. Oh, we never heard that one. That's funny. So I started doing like a London accent, and he's like, "Oh, fuck, you guys are really good at doing accents." And I remember Gav just looking at me like, "Fucking don't do it." So I was just like going through all these accents of places we'd played in. Oh yeah, we took that there, and then he goes, "Oh, do a Scottish one," and I was like, "Oh, I can't do Scottish ones." But just like, oh, shit, Scottish. Okay, the new. Okay, is that Scottish? You know what I mean? Because we couldn't give it away. But yeah, a bit too close to home. So
you want to watch the taxi drivers as well. The things they hear, and I'm sure the things that they repeat. Shut up if you're in the taxi. Right, thanks very much, Billy, and enjoy Norway. Final shouts to Norway. What's Norway like, actually? What's that like as a country to live and work in?
Beautiful country. Weather-wise, exactly the same as back home. 4 seasons in one day. But yeah, you know what? It's absolutely stunning place. But hopefully be back in a couple of weeks' time. Back home, family. Been too long.
Yeah, a nice one, mate. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you
for your time today. We're going to end with Silibil and Brains. Keep it hot. The Beatnuts remix. Nice one. Thank you very much. Take care. See you soon.
Man. Yeah,
actually, before I go, we are here tomorrow night. Like I said, I thought my computer was arriving today, so I was going to take a few days off to get this renovate and start again with new computer and a new backdrop and stuff. But the computer won't be here, so as a result, I am just going to be doing this show, I think, every day until that happens. So if you've got any ideas of guests we should have on, or if you've got any ideas of where I can get a fucking haircut, because it's getting a wee bit, you know, then let me know, because we'll be doing a live streaming a haircut. But tomorrow night we've got Damaged Goods, Brian Jameson, who is going to be here. I've said Tuesday the 11th of August, and hopefully that is the right date. But if I'm wrong, it's tomorrow. Damaged Goods, hip-hop legend. We got brilliant show, says Spee. Shouts to Spee69. Next one, guys. Cheers, says Paul. Great show, says Disco Colin. So many funny stories. Would love to have been a fly in the wall. Absolutely. It's an amazing story. If you've not seen it already, check out the great hip hop hoax. It's on Vimeo. Worth checking out if you've got $3.99 in your account. If you don't, check out the Vice documentaries, a wee 10-minute video out this week on Vice YouTube and Vice Facebook. This is Keep It Hot. Nice one, Billy. Thank you.
Good on. Yeah.
We only came here just to rock. All this rap shit has got to stop. We gotta keep it hot, gotta keep it hot. Throw your hands up if you love it hot. No, we only came here just to rock. All this rap shit has got to stop. We gotta keep it hot.
Make way for brains, face cadet. You don't play my tape cassette, I'ma come and break your neck. And steal your Ava raps, then dislocate your legs. You can't give case instead, you'll be laying dead on the pavement with your face in cement. So save your breath, a step, and get your teeth crushed. I break balls, but no, I'm not the beat nuts. Please hush, last man, cause this and me is now the opposite of Christopher Walken. Christopher Reeves, we rip them seeds off, mostly folk shook. I drop more chins than a Chinese phone book. So look, you wanna fight, bring it on. I bash your head so bad, you'll be looking like a Klingon. My head is spinning, he penicillin, my penicillins and hellish visions of beating with the devil killing. The clever villain will stop until I have 11 million in my bed is filling with 20 women that put my venom in them. The microphone things, overdose of flows into dope MCs. Rip the microphones in half, so get back and get your head cracked. Silly, your brain so high, we get jet lag. Throw your hands up if you love it pop. No, we only came here just to rock. All this rap shit has got to stop. We gotta keep it hot, gotta keep it hot. Street crews running like you hear a police sirens, and the industry freaking out like, who are these guys? Silly the kid. Never agree with ill skill. He was doing my Thurman, you still can never kill Bill. I'm nice with wine sometimes. I fight the character who never acts rich, cause I got less ice than Africa. Start attacking ya. Weak rappers know that work on me. You saw the least syllable, I'll flow like company. I'm bringing rappers back down to earth like Chris Rock. Fast enough to shake your hand and snatch your wristwatch. Pissed off, hip hop's just flopping like where my dick's off. That's why I'm going all out like those and flip flops. The shit's hot, hot like Satan bathing in lava and rawer than your granddaddy day raping. Of a skillful assassin, former beauty queen, thinks she's still in a passion. Acts like Jenny Aniston, aggressively attractive, and her ideal job would be a lingerie mannequin. Acting so unattainable, waiting for Prince Charming to entertain her dough.
Call that radio.
Call out radio.
Goodbye to the people who hated on me.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant that knocks it out in a minute.
That's mad, isn't it? Is this a Netflix thing?
It's actually a podcast.
What the fuck's a podcast?
You know, it's kind of like a radio show.
Oh, that radio.
Yeah.
And is there a way we can do something like that?
I couldn't help it.
By injection inside or
Yeah, I think so because I think just paint in general because I think like my poem is in my painting.
No, cut.